memories with Grandma, your mom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, a
we
long
figured
time
it was
ago. Yeah.
time to get one of you.
If you were 5 when we did that, about 25 years ago then, right?
Yeah. Well, no. I'm 40, so 35 years ago.
Yeah.
It would have been around 87, I think.
Wow. Right after I got back from NASA.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'll be darned. Okay, well, high school was fun for me. I was too naive to realize there was weird stuff going on. I did stuff for teachers and the principal and kids, everybody else, so I just had fun. Just naive little fat boy walking around having fun. And maybe that was good, you know, he didn't have any kind of worries. I was in the marching band. I loved that. Boy, I loved that. I really did. Anyway, went to college, ISU. My dad, this sweet dad, he saved up money, and he paid cash for my college.
Man.
He saved up money all his life. He went to IU 1 year to be a meteorologist, and then, what is it called, a 29 crash of 29.
Oh, yeah, the
hit us in
Wall Street.
Yeah. He went to work in Detroit in the car factories to send money back to his folks. ISU was fun too. I was naive again, you know. I didn't do much silliness there. In fact, my silliness is way on a low level to anybody else's silliness, I guess. Art major, kind of a neat old building. It's moved, it changed around now. Now, my God, the campus is beautiful. It's about 10 times bigger than it was when I was there.
Yeah, Terre Haute's pretty much nothing but ISU and Union Hospital anymore.
Yeah, that's going to connect almost pretty soon.
I'm waiting for them to just create a medical hospital or a medical student school.
It's a matter of blocks between the south end of Union and the north end of ISU.
And in that area, every time a house comes up or gets torn down or burns or whatever, they have a bidding war between the two companies to who gets that property.
We always say this is January last day? Or
January 31st, 2023.
2023, my God. I'm 80 years old.
Now, see, I know in my youth, I kept adding up, like, oh man, I'm going to be 17 in 2000, or 18, whatever I was. I can't remember now, but still in my teens.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what was that, 70 or 45 you were born?
42.
42. Close for a guess. But in 42, you ever think, oh, we're going to see the year 2000, and now beyond.
Exactly.
Came across something just the other day that says children born now have a very good likelihood of seeing 2100.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's almost 75 years from now.
Wow.
So
I don't know if I make it.
We'll make it to 2100. Come on. In all your youthness, growing up around Sullivan, to the point where I grew up here and actually moved back myself after about 20 years of being away, just like you did. You moved away, had a family, and then ventured back, all the way down to now being in your childhood home. I'll eventually buy 236 West Giles. But
the circle has been made.
You know, I know you had a lot of fun, you know, and wholesome fun at that. Not, you know, like you mentioned earlier, you know, people's fun levels up here or something. And, you know, I know a lot of Don Border stories you've told me over the years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's a buddy of mine in high school. One of my buddies. There's about 3 or 4 or 5 of us that were kind of close. And he ended up teaching like I did, but his love was for cars and mechanics and repair. So when he retired, I think he maybe retired early, to open up the old mechanic shop his dad had. Yeah, well, we had all the fun. He liked to make these model cars, which now I see are like for 20 something over at Walmart.
Yeah, well, those are now just, you know, the Sprite bottle has more plastic content than those. Those are more paper than plastic than anything.
Is that right?
When he was doing them, they were probably die-cast metal.
No, they were plastic, but very good plastic. And he would very carefully saw them apart and customize them. He had a real good job of it, too. He had a room full of customized cars in his room. Now, I go out to his house outside of town, southwest of town, have a good time. You know, him and his dad made I guess you'd call it go-kart, a large version of a go-kart out of different pieces of...
Almost a dune bug, almost?
Yeah, close to that. And we drive it around the country block and come around and yeah. And when Don was driving, he got pretty fast. You had to hang on. There was, I mean, you're out in the open. I mean, you just had the feet on top of the engine, literally. And man,
a little bit of railing to hold you in.
Yeah. That was in the let me see, 40s, 50s. It was in the 50s, 1950s.
Early teens.
Sullivan had a centennial in the 1950s, 53. And
is that the video that I have on online?
Yep. I was 11. I was horning in everything by that time, taking pictures for people. I knew the mayor, took movies for my dad. I was in the parade, in the RMC entry in the parade, and the carnival and stuff that was on the square was so interesting, and everybody had so much fun that when it finally shut down and everything put away, but city leaders thought, you know, this is a good thing for a festival to have here in town. And so that was kind of the start of Corn Festival, which started in 57, I believe. And so this was 53. A few years later was the first Corn Festival. And by that time I was in the marching band and I was in the parade. in the marching band. There was an old guy. Well, I didn't know how old he was. I mean, to a kid, everybody's old.
So in other words, he's probably my age.
Yeah, he was 25, you know, something like that. He was kind of an artist, craftsman person. I think he might have been gay when you can't say that, you know, in the 50s. You don't dare admit that then. It's a queer kind of a deal, you know. He did the full design marbling on the upper part of the courthouse columns inside, because the bottom is marble. And he also, he went upstairs and did some things, and a lot of inside interior decoration. One of his paintings is on the first level of the stairway as you go up. It's on the southeast corner of the rotunda. Now I can't think of his name right now. Darn it!
You've told me, and I'm blanking as well.
It's,
see if I have it written down here.
It's a simple name. It's not big. Anyway, if anybody wants to know, you go and look at the. He signed his work, so. And I helped a sign painter who was a big mentor of mine, because he was, I would say, genius level thinking. But money didn't faze him. He didn't care for money. So he lived a very simple life. which was kind of a lesson to me later on in life. When I was a younger man, I thought, God, his name was Lowell Orr, and he was called Trixie. And that to me was demeaning. Maybe he liked it okay, but I didn't. He was a great sign painter.
And it's better than Omar going through life with the name he had.
Yeah.
And being nicknamed Salty.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That has meaning that some people get and some people don't get. But Trixie, I guess I'll call him Lowell, taught me how to letter. I helped him clean his brushes. I learned what brushes did what. And he had, little bits of life philosophies that he passed on to me. Had a big family. His kids all grew up to be good people. And eventually, years ago now, God, I was doing history museum. So it was after Carolyn passed away. I did a portrait of him and gave it to the kids.
So that would have been right around 17 or 18, I think. No, well, yeah.
Could have been.
Around 2016, 17, in that area.
Yep. Yeah, we lost our museum, of course, you know that. Because we all got too old.
At the museum, how they put your old butt on a scaffold and had you actually touch up the signage on the front of the building. And you were amazed because it was Trixie's work. Trixie's work that you got to touch up so many years later.
I talked to Trixie while I was up there doing it, man. I think he smiled down on me. I was sure that I wanted to make sure that it was just like his work and not moving.
Well, apparently he was happy with it because he didn't knock you off the lift.
That's right. Pretty high, but heights don't scare me.
It's the ground.
I still want to do it, but Robin, my wife now, says I'm an idiot. I can't do it, and I had to skydive before I die. I'd like to skydive. Of course, you have a guy behind you. I don't exactly want to do it by myself. Especially, I do want a parachute. That's important in a skydive. As you go down, you say, "Oh, I forgot the parachute."
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. Such is life.
I succeeded at the bucket list.
I was okay until I hit the ground. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd have been fine. But I have two artificial hips that would pop out like crazy. You'd hear them pop out if I had to take the brunt of the landing. So the guy, I'm assuming it's going to be a guy, would have to understand that I cannot take that landing.
I'm sure we can go find some Amazonian to strap you to.
Yeah, a big guy about 8 foot tall.
No, I mean young lady.
Amazonian. Amazonian. Yeah, now I got you now. Absolutely.
All right, Steve, let's go.
I would. That wouldn't be bad. Nice padding on my back. Yeah. My mouth and nose runs all the time, I tell you.
Well, we touched on Dawn and your artistic mentors and sort of entry into it.
I was at ISU last on it chronologically.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my dad and mom, who started their life as sandlot farmers in Carlisle, and having gone through the reconstruction of the finances that they lost
after the Depression.
Yeah, after the Depression, were very conservative with their money, and I don't blame them. I should be more. Had a lot of fun with what I did, though. Anyway, What was I getting to now, man? I forgot what I was getting to.
Talking about Grandma and Grandpa were Sandlot, farmers.
Yeah. Oh, my dad and Mom urged me to get a teacher's license. And they said, now you don't have to be a teacher. You can be an artist, but you have something to fall back on.
It's a secondary.
Well, I graduated, and there's just no market in this area for an artist. You have to move to a larger area, or now, of course, it'd be online. I've got an artist friend that sells stuff online all the time and makes a good living at it. But at that time, I took a teaching job, teaching in Carlisle, Indiana, first-year teacher. Don Slatton was my principal, wonderful principal. Probably that guy was the best principal I ever had. He had his teachers' backs. He didn't. He wasn't a criticizer and walk around with his nose in the air, looking maybe for things that he should think needs changed. Just the opposite. He was a supporter and a cheerleader for his teachers, and we all really liked the man. Got killed in an auto accident later on in life after he retired. Just broke our hearts. But at any rate, first year, 1965-66 was my first year. And something I found out later, my great-grandfather, William Tucker, after the Civil War, got his teacher's license and started teaching in 1865. Yeah, which was kind of, I felt kind of neat. In Carlisle.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to maybe suggest, even though it's the first time hearing of it.
He bought that farm out west of Carlisle that my granddad was working when I was a little kid. And it was on the sand. It was very sandy in that portion of the county. Great for watermelons, and that's one of the things they raised a lot of. And me and my folks would go visit Grandpa and Grandma Tucker. They were not kissing, hugging people. They loved me okay, I'm sure. And Grandpa Tucker would set me on the back of one of his big Clydesdale horses, and we could ride around. And I flew kites out of the field behind the house, great big old field, wonderful kite flying area. We were a little bit above Bustron. It flowed nearby. My mom grew up as a neighbor girl. Her dad worked for my grandpa. My grandpa worked for my other grandpa. He was kind of a hired hand. He was not educated. He was sent over to be raised by somebody here in the county by his parents who lived in, I think, Worthington area. And he, unfortunately, always hated that. And he told his daughter, my mom, Glenn Neves, that his family, his parents must have hated him because they threw him away. That's what he thought. Well, I looked it up, and I'm sorry to say my grandpa had passed, so I couldn't tell him. Maybe he found it out when he got to heaven, or I found it from me. His dad was critically wounded in the Civil War, and there was nothing for a wounded person.
At the time, absolutely.
You come home and you were on your own, man.
Yeah.
He couldn't work, and so they were just paupers. They couldn't afford anything, and that's why they sent him over to have a better life. But he didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the case with a lot of adoptions. Is just it's sometimes the parent thinks it's going to be a better life, but a lot of the times it is just absolutely a better life for them.
Let me see now. They had a centennial at Carlisle that year. No, they had a sesquicentennial recently, didn't
they? Yeah, you did the artwork for that too.
Yeah, I was in it because they had a big play. They really made a big deal out of it. Bigger at the centennial than they did at the sesquicentennial, really. Since I witnessed both of them, boy, they had things going all over town. My God, they had this really big pageant that they put on every night of I think it was 5 or 6 days of celebration in the summer. And I had a part in it, and then I had a part doing stuff behind the scenes where we erected a cabin-looking thing in about 10 seconds, so someone could do something in front of it and take it out again. Mary Mae Bowen, my old friend that I haven't seen for a decade now, man. I bet she got old just like I did. Her and her husband, big horse people, and they had horses and cattle in that pageant. It was, it's one that didn't have buffalo herd in the pageant. Dr. Brown, the guy that helped me get out of my mom, was a family doctor. His office was across the street from the school. Now, the school that's there now is on the same grounds, but neither the elementary or the high school remains that I taught at. I had a little room in the basement of the elementary school that the high school people came over for. It was a cute little room. And I could, of course the windows were high, and like in the basement, look out and across the town, across the big downtown Carlisle.
Yeah.
But at that time, we had a grocery store, we had a drugstore, different kind of little stores that were working good. Yeah. We moved there. Me and Carolyn. We had Steve and John, and she was pregnant with Kenny when we moved here. I think. Wait a minute. Yeah. Yep. And had a lovely little home down near the railroad crossing on 58, and right across from the city park. And so the kids could go across the street and play in the park. Well, one kid. That winter, it's got to be that winter. Carolyn had the baby, and then she came home, and we had a snowstorm that like 3 foot of snow, really bad, really big. That everybody just had to stop. Nobody did anything. Well, Kenny got really ill, and an infant getting really ill is kind of fatal if you don't get something done. Well, the state police couldn't land a helicopter anywhere near. They ran out of ways to get to them, and Bill Tennis worked as a assistant funeral director, as I recall, in Carlisle at the funeral home that now turned into a home, a really pretty home on Old 41 and whatever that street is, 58 cross.
I can say it's another highway. I couldn't remember what the number is though.
Yeah. He pulled the big old ambulance out, which was at that time like a beefed up station wagon kind of a deal.
Probably a former hearse.
Yeah. And he drove down and was able to get in our driveway. We waited out with Kenny and put him in there. And he said, if you follow me in your car, I think if I plow the way, you can stay with me. So that it worked. He got us down to the hospital, Mary Sherman, and he kind of saved Kenny's life. I'm not sure he would have survived if he hadn't have done that. There was while we were there, the next spring, it was not Memorial Day. It was back up a little bit earlier than that. It was early spring, but it was a holiday. I wonder what holiday that was. Easter, maybe. Maybe Easter. Really windy. Carolyn wore some clothes and was hanging out on the clothesline because it was so windy. They were drying right away. I remember taking some pictures of her and the kids out playing around, and it was windy. Well, shortly after that, a couple hours, tornadoes went through northern Indiana and killed people. It was the big outbreak of, I don't know how many tornadoes went through. It was very, very bad that time. It missed us. We didn't get any. We just got the wind. Okay, now, where am I? Oh, yeah. Well, they closed the high school, and everybody was sent to Sullivan High School. So I went up there, and I taught 2 years in the basement where I had taken Spanish when I was high school there. They turned it into an art room. So I was very familiar with the room. The dark room for the camera club was right in the back end of that room, and then the other side was storage for, at that time, art supplies. I had a good time. I had the 8th grade and maybe the 7th grade, and which was in a different part of the school where the separation was they were on the north end, a newer part, and the cafeteria was built in between. And then I had the high school people. One day, my friend Jerry Shake, who now lives in North Carolina, New Bern, North Carolina, he called me up. He was a photographer for Channel 2 television. He said, the art director here was almost killed in an auto accident right in front of our TV station. He's in bad shape in the hospital right now. May or may not survive. They need an art director. I told them about you. Do you want to try it? So I rushed up there after school, and they hired me on the spot. And we agreed to, I'd come up there after I worked
the teaching
my
job.
TV teaching job. Now that occurred for like 2 years. So I was making 2 full salaries for 2 years. I really, at that time, a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Never made that much again that way. As time went on, the money didn't seem as much, but anyway. And we decided to adopt a little girl, and so we went through the adoption thing with a Catholic center in Indianapolis. Can't think of the name of it, but it had the unwed mothers from Catholic families, and everything was kept hush hush. And they even at that time matched our flesh tone and our hair color and what have you, so the baby would look like ours. And I thought, I don't care. But we went through that deal, and so this is the reason I brought that up. We deserved a vacation. We had a lot of things going, and so I took a vacation off at Channel 2 during the summer, while I was off school, and we went to Pigeon Forge. At that time, just starting. It certainly wasn't a threat to Gatlinburg. It was just like a little dinky thing that was there before you got to Gatlinburg at that time. And so we were there and had good time. And so the Catholic people called us up and said, "We have the girl for you. Can you come get her?" Well, okay, we're in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee right now. So we quickly left and drove up there. And I had the money. I just paid cash right there. It was, I think, over $1,000. And picked the baby up and brought her home. And so that Sherry started her life with us in 1968. Yep. And after that, I decided to stick with Channel 2 and resigned from my teaching job. I think I had more fun at that job than anything else in my life as far as working job. It was a station that was just kind of getting started. A lot of things were just, they were kind of testing them out here and there. Black and white television. The only color was from the network, the news, and some of the shows of the evening, which we got directly from New York. That was in color, but our stuff was strictly black and white. So I worked in gray tones all the time. Kind of interesting in a way, because I realized that I could put certain colors together that had the same gray tone value, and on a black and white camera it would look blank. So I experimented with stuff like that. Yeah. But sometimes I needed somebody to run a camera, so I learned how to run a television camera.
I think TV2 is still good about that. Like, oh, you have this job? Well, in the morning show, we need another cameraman.
That's right.
Come on.
Yeah. Noontime, I had a noontime lady from Colorado for a while. I think she went up to a bigger station later on. Noon, I didn't have a cameraman, so I ran the noon camera every day.
Remind me at some point to show you the Addams Family house from the original black and white show. You'll never expect what the house actually looked like, even with your artisticness.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Let's see. A lot of stories out of the TV thing. You know, the 21st is coming up of February, where I've got a speaking position here at the museum about my life, but it can only last half an hour because it's a noontime luncheon during people on their lunch hour. I don't know how to condense all this stuff.
There's a bit more story for your TV2 time too.
Yeah. They decided they want a Santa. Now, was it it's not Walmart. Woolworth? No, it's not that. There was a company like Walmart. It was in North Plaza in Terre Haute. What, Woolco? I think so.
Could be.
And they sponsored it because they used Santa every weekend. And that was the deal. So, every weekday at, I believe, 4 or 4:30, I had a half-hour live show as Santa Claus. And they had a puppeteer. We had all kinds of things going on. This puppeteer was a theater-type person, and she did a great job. And I tell a story about me having a desk that I supposedly was my work bench out in the shop, and I wasn't in Santa's house. I was out in my workshop. She sat on the floor underneath that desk between my knees, which my wife did not care for. And between her knees was a little TV monitor to see how things were going. So it's a wonder we didn't get electrocuted or something when she got sweaty. But when she got bored, she'd start pulling my pants leg up and pull hair out of my leg and do weird stuff to me. We had a guy that the light grid in the studio was all over the top end. I mean, it was pipes, so you could take your lights and go anywhere and hook them up and re-angle them. Well, he liked to get up there and walk on top of that thing. And so he would be my snow guy. When I went out to get the mail every day, supposedly, he'd be sprinkling snow on me, like it was snowing up there. And one day he got tired of doing that. He just took the box of snow and went, pah! And so I just had a white thing go all over me. It was cornflakes. That's what it was. They sail down kind of neat. And they don't sparkle or anything. Anyway, that's what we determined to use. So I had to kind of spit cornflakes a little bit and laugh about having a, what do you call it, when a big bunch of stuff comes down on you.
A hurricane or a blizzard? Or
No, we're getting close. Anyway, where some people get on a mountain and they get killed by it.
Avalanche.
Avalanche. I said, we must have a little avalanche in there. Toy. We had, I think I lasted 5 years on that show, and Wilco, I think, got tired of sponsoring it. I had to go every Saturday and Sunday, all between Thanksgiving and Christmas, to be Santa there live. And I had the first time I did that. I didn't have my costume figured out quite yet, and so I kind of had it cobbled up for the TV, because you can adjust it during commercials and so on. So when I got up to leave that one first day or two, started walking to the back room where I changed, I felt my pants coming down. And I thought, I can't get to my pants. I got this Santa Claus thing clear down to almost to my knees. Couldn't do it. My God, I started walking faster. And about the time I hit the back room, with the door closed, and my pants went to my ankles. So suspenders were part of my costume from then on. We had ice storms. Well, I would call them that. Our tower that was right behind my office, my studio at Channel 2, was 1,000 foot tall. And it had guy wires that reached out, cut off of many hundreds of yards on all directions. And even though it might not be freezing sometimes in the winter down where we were, up there it was freezing. So if we had kind of a rainstorm or something of that nature, there would be huge icicles form on top. And then when it got a little bit warmer, they started to fall off. And it was dangerous. I mean, people had to go out the front door and not the back door where I was, because you get killed. Well, I was looking out my window and I saw ice coming off and everything. All of a sudden, this icicle, which was about maybe 4 foot long, that big on the big end, punctured my hood of my car, went into the tire and flattened my tire. And it's like killing someone with an icicle. Your murder weapon
dissolves in the way. Yeah.
Well, that's what happened there. My icicle dissolved, so they had to take my word for it. But what else would make a hole like that straight down? But that was a regular occurrence in the wintertime. Quite often, if we had rain and cold weather, we turned to color one year, and Channel 10 was also black and white, and we wanted to keep it quiet. We wanted to go color before they did, so we could market that. We're the first color, and so we hid everything in a big semi truck right behind the building and covered it up with a tarp every day. But they got wind of it somehow. Somebody ratted on us or something. So they started to. And it was down to the wire. We went color only hours before they went color. Yeah. I mean, they were working day and night pretty quickly there because they knew what had happened. Yeah.
Actually, I sort of did like the little friendly rivalry between the two news agencies around here. Now they're owned by the same company.
They don't seem to be too much worried about each other either, do they? Right now.
Yeah. I know my old buddy Mike actually got a clip put on Comedy Central's Daily Show from where one of them, I think it was TV2, was running sort of a smear campaign on TV10. Or maybe it was the other way around. I can't remember now, but we cover the entire area with our radar system. TV10 has a dead spot right around their zone. Just
shit like
back and forth like that. It was funny as can be.
Yeah.
All the way down to Jon Stewart was even making fun of it.
They hired professional agency two different times to upgrade us and come in and see what we were doing wrong in the news and make it right. And it gets pretty brutal because sometimes they'd say you got to change anchor people, or you got to, something that somebody would lose their job over, and I had to do new logos sometimes, or change the set. I had to do set work too. I built the new sets. Now they come in with professional, and it's plastic and lighted and LED stuff in it, and it's beautiful. I just, at that time it was cardboard and lumber.
Now the art department doesn't have to leave their office in order to change the entire set. Just a few clicks on a computer and the whole new set.
Yeah, I know. The big screen behind, you can put anything you want to behind them. And it's not green screen. I mean, my God, it's a real screen of some kind. What was I got? Oh yeah, I had fun doing a lot of sets. So we had a outdoor fishing hunting show with two guys that. Before I leave Channel 10 thing, I wanted to say one thing. Pete Johnson was the art director at Channel 10. We became buddies. We weren't ever trying to up each other. We had lunch together sometimes, and we'd tell stories about each other's work, and he was a good guy. He passed away. Great cartoonist, boy. I saw where they had one of his cartoons for Christmas this year, and I wrote them about that. No one responded. They probably didn't know what the heck I was talking about. but I saw one of them. Anyway, they had a fishing and hunting show, and so I built a cabin-looking set with false brick that looked real, and everything in it was real cabinage, the old rocking chairs and a table and what have you. And we had that every week. I believe it was every week. They came in. One owned a roofing. I don't know what it's still in the end, but he passed. A big roofing place in Terre Haute. The other one was part owner, a big sports thing. Hunting, fishing, basketball, the sports equipment, which was now where the Walmart is downtown, down there on 3rd Street. Mm. Yeah.
I was thinking of Outdoor Supply or whatever that place is called.
Yeah.
Cause, I mean, I know that's been around for a while. But
I don't understand that. There's a lot of outdoor stuff going on here. Yeah. Okay, where am I now? A guy come in and talked me into being art director for an ad agency that gave me a lot more money. And I thought, well, it's time I start making money for my family. I've had enough. I've played around, but the salary at Channel 2 was not much more than the teaching salary. Mm-hmm. So it was more money, so I went to the agency. Bad move. These guys lived together. Again, they were gay, and they started this ad agency, and they headquartered in Clay City. Did they? Yeah, Clay City. And they had clients in Indianapolis and all around the area, but they worked all the time. They'd come early, and they'd stay up till midnight maybe there working. They expected me to do the same thing. I did it for about a year. I never saw home with my kids many weeks, hardly. Just go home, sleep, and get up and go back again. I got tired of it. So I took a job as a teacher in Vigo County. And that's when I started my teaching career there. Stayed there for a long time. But, I'm so glad to get out of that, boy. West Vigo is a long way from Sullivan. But I did commute. I stayed 236 West Giles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You see, you were born in 82. Mm-hmm. I was working there at Vigo County, when you were born. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how Steve met Rhonda, I believe, isn't it?
That's exactly right. Isn't that weird? Yeah. I had a good experience there. And, of course, the story about NASA, teacher in space, comes up then. And I won. I was bragging I was going to win, and I thought to myself, well, I can brag all I want to, but, I did. And so it started. They hired a substitute for a solid year for me. NASA did, not to school. Mm-hmm. And so I started that adventure, and that was quite something. And Krista McCullough, the lady that was killed when the Challenger blew, was a classmate. We did projects together, as all of us did projects together. But they worked us. I mean, it wasn't a vacation. You had something going on right after breakfast until late at night, pretty much every day. And every once in a while they'd give you a day off, but it wasn't just sitting around.
And now, how'd you get entered into it?
I heard Walter Cronkite on the 6 o'clock news back in 84 or 80, whatever, a few months before it started, that they were going to have this, where a teacher was from every state would have a shot at it. And I thought, wow, man, I'm going to give that a shot. And that's how I heard. I wrote into, I think, Washington somewhere, that I got an address, and they forwarded it to somebody else, and then I got the application. But the application was on an odd paper that I almost compared to aluminum foil. It was something that you could, if you made a mistake, it looked awful. So I wrote it out, and they had a professional typist type my answers in that thing. And it looked good, thank God. And I sent it in, and they said, well, you're among about the top 10 here in the state. You could come up to Indianapolis, and we'll interview everybody on a closed circuit television, see how you do. Well, I did Santa Claus. I was used to TV, and so that didn't scare me. It didn't bother me. So I did well. I mean, I laughed and I joked, and I used my gestures, and a real charming guy. And they picked me. They did. West Vigo was very pleased because, well, I got them in the news, man.
Yeah, they got to promote that their teacher is now in...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was the only art teacher in that group. A lot of science, a lot of history teachers and stuff, but not any art. Librarians, got some librarians. When did Larry Bird come in? Was he before NASA?
He would have been ISU, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, was he going to ISU? I can't think. See, he got a teacher's license. He had to substitute. I mean, he had to student teach, and he picked West Vigo. In fact, he did some art lessons for me. I had to coach him, of course. He didn't know crap about it. But he was so good, at ISU, that people from all sorts of professional basketball were after him. We had to escort him to the cafeteria because they would be waiting in the hallways and so forth when he went down. And when he left school, they were standing out in the parking lot waiting for him. Yeah.
A hell of a player, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He might, well, this is not unusual, but like from past half court, he made a couple of baskets for some kids. Yeah. Quite popular guy there in school. Everybody really felt good about that.
Yeah.
My advanced class was asked to every Friday do the run-through thing for the football team, where people are holding it up and they rush through and it tears open and they come running out on the field. Something very patriotic on the paper, and we did it for a few weeks and we got tired of it. So, yeah, we tied a twine string across about a foot off the ground. And so they kept running through that thing and tripped on that. The whole football team piled on each other. Suddenly we didn't have to do that anymore.
It almost been funny to maybe paint it with a laminate or something that stiffens it up.
Yeah, it couldn't break.
Hit it like a drum,
Yeah. Boing. The nurse had an office right by the art room. Really nice nurse. We had a lot of nice conversations. A little bit older than me. And one day, she had some sort of a meeting in the office for I don't know how many hours. So me and my advanced class went into her room and took everything out of the room and hid it in the art room. Her furniture, her desk, her chair, her file cabinet, everything came out. And so she came back to a bare room. But our first words were, "Tucker, what did you do?" So my next class put them back together.
Well, while on topic of friends in high places, basically, I mean, during your ISU tenure and working on your student teaching, you were David Ledman's student teacher.
Yeah, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Broad Ripple, Indianapolis, big school. Yeah, he was a senior when I was a senior in college, so we're 4 years difference. And he was in the class and was just an average student, but a nice person, joking at that time even too, but very theatrical at that time. I mean, he was had a part in the play that was being done, and he also had a little radio show there in the school every morning before classes. I lived in Indianapolis while I was doing that, down about 3 blocks from there, across from Broad Ripple Park, and it was a nice experience. A tragedy occurred, however, not to me. During my time there, which was a semester work, the big explosion at the ice capades going on. I don't know. At that time, I don't remember the building's name. Coliseum, maybe. It was some kind of a gas explosion. It wasn't like somebody planted a bomb. Killed a lot of people. I don't know how many now. My God, it was 70 years ago or something. Some were in my class who lost both parents. Some kids there at Broad Ripple had lost both parents that night. Boy, oh boy, what a sad thing that was. Broad Ripple has turned into quite an artsy place. It was becoming that way back then, but not nearly as much as it is now. It really holds its own.
Let's see, how about Ed Peace?
We've known each other since scouting. He was our camp director before I was camp director a little bit. Somewhere in time, I think I came in right behind him as camp director. He went on to, my God, I don't know his first job, but he became a senator for one thing. Oh, and also is it a board member of something or maybe
vice president of Rolls-Royce.
Oh yeah, ISU too. Then he became vice president of Rolls-Royce. So yeah, he's had quite a career. Came back home to retire. He was up behind Rose Holman now, in a lovely little home.
Let's see. I'm jumping a little bit because my list is, well, out of order itself. Let's see. You haven't gotten quite to me yet, so I'm going to try to be before that.
Okay. Well, we're close. I joined the Navy before you were born, I believe. Yeah.
So Navy, cross-country biking, cave splunking, Mariah Club. I feel like all those are slightly combined college era.
Mariah Club was an adventure club that me and another man started. Then he was transferred to North Vigo, so I took it on by myself, which was quite an undertaking, but at that time I was young and dumb, I guess. We had quite experiences, my God. I mean, we had adventures. We went down the Buffalo River in Arkansas for a week in canoes. We hang glided off a Lookout Mountain into Georgia. Where else did we go? Went to east Ocracoke Island and went sailing.
Now, one of the Mariah trips, was that where Sherry got that picture with that baby bear cub?
Yep. We went north to North Minnesota in January to an environmental organization. One of the people was Lynn Rogers, who was a National Geographic photographer and bear expert. And every winter he would go around while the mom was sleeping. He knew where the dens were. We would pull the mother out. He would give her a shot to make her sleep a little bit deeper. We didn't want her to wake up. And then we checked the babies, make sure that they were all okay, weighed them, took blood samples, put them back. After we played with them a little bit, we put them back. Now, you think, well, we got our hands on them. Well, number one, it was colder than heck, and we had gloves on, and our smell would go away by the time the mom woke up. So we weren't too worried about that. We checked the mom, make sure the collar, see, that's the way we would locate the mom. And she had a radio collar, yeah. Yeah. So we got in the vicinity, and then Lynn would tell, oh, yeah, that's where that is, right over there. And so we'd go do it. And we put everything back as best we could, just exactly the way the mom had it. But one of the things you had to do, somebody had to go in and get the babies, so they had to climb down in the den, get the babies.
Cojones of steel.
Yeah. That was a good experience. We learned to dog sledding. We all took turns trying to learn dog sledding. Those dogs are smart-ass dogs. They know if you step off with a sled, they take off like crazy, and you're just standing there as the sled goes away from you. You have to stay with the sled, or you're done with it.
Well, if you were utilizing Huskies, they have been determined to have the brain capacity of about a 5-year-old.
Now I know one of them was writing in cursive already.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
he was one of the smarter ones.
Peed their name in snow.
Yeah. Snow was about 3 foot deep. We did snowshoeing. Snowshoeing is not as easy as it might look, because you have to have the snowshoe in such a way that your foot can come up, and then you walk and your foot comes up, but the snowshoe has to stay on the ground. So you're it's by the toe that's the only thing that's really hooked on. And if you get sideways with it, it just kind of cuts right in and you'll slide right in the snow. Well, we were walking through the forest, coniferous. Boy, I tell you, it's a what do they call it? It's a lovely name. They think you're smart if you know this name. It's a forest that occurs up north, mostly coniferous, very few deciduous trees. just the evergreens mostly. Anyway, I got sideways, went right into a snowdrift. I mean, snow. I was laying on my back like a turtle. And so this teenage girl that was part of the organization comes up and pulls me up because I couldn't get up at all. Man, I would have laid there and died, I suppose, if no one knew I was there. But I was under the snow. I couldn't see me for the snow.
Yeah, it's not as simple as like cartoons make it look like you throw a tennis racket on your foot and you can walk across.
Yeah, no.
Whatever.
There's the old kind, that looks like a tennis racket.
Yeah. And
there's a newer kind that it's some kind of hard plastic or something like that. Probably more efficient too, lighter weight. They taught cross-country skiing too, and it's kind of like skating. And I'm a horrible skater, and so you have to get kind of a rhythm going forward like that, or you don't go anywhere. Finally picked it up. We did a whole day, I think, going around somewhere in the north. Beautiful scenery, oh boy. Very cold. Of a night, it was so clear that you honestly could read a newspaper by moonlight. And the sky just had millions of stars glittering down. Really pretty.
I know you just sent me a picture the other day of said negative 30 degrees.
Yeah.
And your hat said Mariah Club.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now that was a name we stole from a magazine that lasted maybe a couple of years about outdoor things. But we wrote them and asked them if we could use that, so we didn't get any kind of a suit on copyright thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yep. Yeah. Carolyn was a music major in college, and the music department at that time was upstairs of the arts department. And I see this really cute girl go to music class every day past the lockers that we had our art stuff in. Decided to pursue this young lady. And that's how I met your mom. She was from Lyons, Indiana, which is about, not very big. Small town, southeast of Linton. And she had been raised by her great aunt, which was the epitome of an old maid school teacher, and was extremely naive about the world. It was just amazing. I mean, you could write a story about this lady being an old maid school teacher, right? Teaching kids in little school. But she did a nice job raising Carolyn. I can't be mean about that. And she was putting her through college, so she was being a good parent. So Robin wait a minute, that's my second wife. Carolyn was played in the Terre Haute Symphony for a while. She's a reed instrument, saxophone, clarinet.
I knew her as clarinet.
Mm-hmm. That was her primary instrument, clarinet. Yeah, did a good job.
Did you pick up the trombone just to try to impress? No, I know you did marching band, but yeah.
Nope,
we can play a beautiful symphony together, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Nope, I don't know why I picked that exactly. It kind of interested me when I was coming out of middle school. I call it junior high school then, and that's what I picked.
No, middle school age. It made fart noises.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
there you
true.
go. That, yeah.
And you can use it as a weapon to a degree.
Yeah. Let's see, you did cross-country biking with Mom.
Yeah. We rode a lot. That cross-country biking was fun. If you like it, I mean, it takes work. But, man, you're out in the open, you hear things, you're going slow enough that you see people and wave at people, and it's different than riding.
Pray to God if somebody don't drive too close to you.
Yeah, you try your best to pick a road that has extra on the side. They didn't call them emergency lanes at that time. You were lucky if they had maybe 3 feet over that white line.
Mm-hmm.
I tried riding US 50 once by myself, and it didn't have anything over the white line. And it's very curvy, very hilly, and I was scared to death after a while. I had a coal truck brush my pants. That's how close it was. That shook me up a bit.
I bet, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Didn't ride US 50 anymore. US 40, we did that. We rode 40. And went to Indianapolis on an early Sunday morning, so there was not much traffic there either. Went right downtown, went through town, headed toward Ohio, rode over to through Richmond and into Ohio. Yep, and then down to Something Woods State Park. Something Woods. I forgot the first name of it, and had someone come after us.
Yeah, screw driving back. Come here.
Yeah.
Come get us.
Yeah.
Bouncing back to your NASA, you also sent me a picture of the telegram that they sent you.
From the White House.
Inviting you in.
Yeah. Gave me a date and a time that they're going to have that. Of course, it was known that we'd be in Washington, D.C. anyway at training, so I didn't have to take a airplane over or anything. I was already there. We were guests of the President and Ronald Reagan and Nancy. And every astronaut who had walked on the moon had been invited, and they came. So we got to chat and have stories told about that, how some of them peed on the moon and didn't tell anybody. And I don't know how they do that in that suit. I don't know.
In the vacuum, you wouldn't have to do much.
It just kind of floated away. I don't know how they did that.
Because it was a TV set. No.
Right. It was fake. It's fake. No one's been there. That's right. We got to handle moon rocks, by the way, during our training, and then we got licensed to handle them at our school if we wanted them. But there was it required a lot of security and a lot of responsibility, and I thought, I don't think I do want to do that. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Since I wasn't a science teacher and I couldn't work it into lessons.
Hey, paint the moon. Here's some white and black and gray.
Yeah, here's some moon rocks. Paint them. And then we'll send them back painted.
Let's see. Didn't you get an offer to work at Disney at one point as well?
1968. That's a long time ago. I was working at Sullivan.
And Sherry was Sherry was born.
Before she was born, or she was a baby. Anyway, I found out that they were building a Disney World like Disneyland, only it was in Florida, and they were hiring artists, and I thought, aha. So me and I grabbed Steve and John. Kenny was just a baby. Steve and John wasn't much more than that. And he and I drove down there. Got there, and it was a bunch of trailers. Everything was in trailers. And so they directed me to a trailer. I don't know what I did with my boy. Just tied him to a tree or something.
See that swamp? Go play with that alligator.
Yeah. Showed him my
portfolio.
God. When you're my age, vocabulary just goes right down the tubes.
Well, hell, the only reason I even thought of that because that's what I got Emily for. Well, that's what we got Emily for her Christmas.
Mhm. They liked it. They were hiring artists left and right, so it wasn't like a big deal to them. But they offered me, my beginning pay was so low. It was not near as much as I was making at Channel 2, school? Somewhere. Both, I was doing both at that time.
Yeah.
And I thought, my God, I've got 2 kids, 3 maybe, I've got one of those, and a wife to support. I can't move down here, lock, stock, and barrel on that kind of money.
I'm sure that it wasn't too far off from how it is now on the fact that it cost more just to live in Florida.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, it didn't happen. It's kind of one of the what if, kind of deals, but I think I did okay.
Well, I mean,
I did other stuff besides. Yeah.
There's obviously always pros to a lot of these things. I mean, you didn't work at Disney, so therefore, Steve met Rhonda, and you didn't get the final pick for Teacher in Space. You're still here.
And Krista is not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I witnessed that with the family, her family, and her classes of kids. And
the nation. I mean, we were all watching live.
Everybody's watching. We said, now wait a minute. The booster rocket doesn't come off that quick. What happened? Then we realized, my God, it's exploded. That's comparing, if you want to put a farm silo full of the most flammable liquid possible and explode it. That's what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
It would just blow everything to pieces. Now they were in what might be called a giant thermos jug in the sense they were insulated pretty well, but I do not think it would have stood up against that explosion.
It was meant for a thrust in a certain direction and not
boom.
Boom. Yeah. Was there a fun story on how you obtained either Giles' house? Because I know you lived a block apart.
Yeah.
Times, but
our first house was 309. It was my scoutmaster's house. He had retired and he wanted to move back to his home area near Hanover College on the other side of the state. He lived with us for a while he was trying to get everything arranged. I liked that house. In fact, as I look back, maybe it was the more fun house than the other one. But anyway, we got cocky and decided we wanted a new house. We want a new house. So we got one up north of town in a little subdivision, and we hated it. We hated it. We thought, oh God, why did we do this? Why, oh why? So this West Giles in the second block came up, and that's where we came back to town, to an older house. We lived there 25 some odd years.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I know I lived there 21 years.
Yeah. It's cold out. My goodness, it's about 12, right? 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah, the last I looked, it was 13 degrees and felt like 13.
Me and our doggy wife, I went and got our sausage biscuit and our coffee. And she's eating at my feet as we speak. She's eating the biscuit part now.
So you bought the more expensive house on Giles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it an apartment when you guys got it, or?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It had been an apartment. The southwest, whatever that was a kitchen, was made into a kitchenette, bathroom deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, kitchenette.
I'm pretty sure they literally did turn a closet into a bathroom.
That's right.
That little bathroom was.
You had to kind of go in sideways.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then that one bedroom.
And us men always being the bigger statures in that house.
Yeah.
It was crab walk sideways and hope you can stand back up.
So we opened it up and we took out that kitchen stuff out of the front room. Never made it into much of anything. I really didn't know what to call it.
Well, I mean, it ended up turning that house into like a 7-bedroom potential.
Yeah, it was a big house, and a nice dining room, nice living room, nice fireplace, the whole thing. It was a really nice place. Nice front porch, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Remember we had a dog that kept eating the mail.
I think that one was prior to me.
Oh, that's
being
right.
Comprehending.
Our little doggy at the time got angry at the postal man. We had a little place in the side of the door that you put the mail through, and it fell onto the front porch. And every day, man, the dog would try to eat the mail if I didn't get to it. And when it started eating my paychecks and stuff, I got a little worried. So I built a box on that side that held the mail from then on. Yeah.
See, I never even knew that you built the little mailbox.
Yep, that's my creation.
We tapped into the 80s with the NASA.
Yeah, that was mid 80s right there. You know, one thing about it, I didn't handle my status coming back too well because I was semi-famous, my 15 minutes of fame. I became kind of an arrogant ass, and it taught me a lesson as I look back, but didn't handle it very well. It finally wore off, and thank goodness. But it did affect me in a negative way. Yeah, 2 or 3 different negative after Krista was killed. After that, God, my life just goes to hell in the handbasket. No, let me think. Okay. See, Carolyn started to have heart problems, and we had her in the hospital a lot. And let me think, in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, we worried about that. We dealt with that as best we could. Mm-hmm. I was still in the Naval Reserve, and so I was doing that. Let's see. I was about in the mid 80s. I might have been working at the Pentagon by that time, or the last year that I worked with the Commander-in-Chief Pacific. That's right. Now, you know what? That was an interesting era in my life. The Navy artist in me, which most people didn't even realize. There was a see, I'm losing vocabulary again. I can't think of the naval term. There was a job for a Navy person as an artist, illustrator, map maker, chart maker, illustrator, draftsman was my rate. That's it, rate. They couldn't make me.
I could have helped you with that anyway. I don't know.
When I went in, when I first heard that they were taking people who did not have active duty training, which I didn't. They didn't know what to do with me because I had 2 degrees in art and teaching, and that would make me an officer, sort of. But I had no active duty. I didn't know what one thing was from another in the Navy, so that made me a pure recruit. So they made me an enlisted man, and they gave me what you call it?
Essentially a rank.
A rank of first class. First class. And something. God, it's awful that when you get this way, you want to tell somebody something and you can't think of a word.
I have it almost on the daily.
Oh my God. I was enlisted first class Navy. It'll come to me. Well, how can I tell my story when I can't even put anything in it? I'm afraid that that's going to happen when I'm up in front of people on the 21st, too, coming up. But you can't prepare for it. I mean, I can't have a bunch of words in front of me with their definition behind it.
I was thinking about making a bullet point for you, though, that might assist you.
I got to hold it to about half an hour, so I decided maybe to do NASA and the Navy, or NASA and the Adventure Club. I don't know which I'll do. I don't know which would be more interesting, about 50-50. Probably the Navy to most people. How many people enjoy being told about going down a river in a canoe? And so my very first active duty 2 weeks was at Great Lakes Naval Training Center, where they train enlisted people. And so it was spit and polish. What a place to send a guy like that. You see, that program hadn't started hardly at all. I mean, it was just in its beginning. Now, I understand, if it's still going, that they have a training period for us weird guys. Then they did not. I couldn't tell rank. I couldn't tell officer from enlisted. Nothing. And they threw me in this place. Man, I got bawled out so many times for being disrespectful or something. And there's no use saying, well, I didn't know. You know, first class is, you should know something, because the next step is chief. And so I worked in the newspaper there.
And one quick though is, like, now, someone could potentially bring up, a video online or research it online.
Exactly.
At that point in time for you would have had to hit an encyclopedia, asked someone, or
there should have been like a book to read, a handbook. Nope. And I got balled out so many times that I began to kind of sneak around places that were on the main drag, so I wouldn't run into anybody. Because I was, I got to the point that I got tired of being balled out, and so I started learning very fast. I tried to learn everything I could as quickly as I could, listening to people and watching and so on. And I got so, I wasn't doing too badly. And I did the newspaper at the Great Lakes. I did photography for them. So I went different places. Somebody drove me, thank God. And I took photographs of events. And because of that, I could look busy, even though I might not be. And the officers and what have you would forgive me for not saluting and everything. So walking up to a guy and say, "Who the hell are you? Are you an officer? I'm enlisted." That doesn't work,
Yeah.
I was on the other side of the highway. There's a hospital site on Great Lakes, a big Navy hospital. And there is a creek big enough that there's a nice bridge over it. I was walking on one side of the bridge, minding my own business. An officer, evidently a doctor or someone, feeling pretty proud, on the other side, and he bawled me out for not saluting across the road. And I thought, piss on you, You don't say that to an officer and get away with it. So I didn't say that. I thought it, didn't say it. Next assignment was Pensacola, Florida, working with the Blue Angels and the aviation school.
I forgot Blue Angels was Navy.
Yeah. And they have lady pilots now too in the Blue Angels. It's just that he had a southern song. Southern Nights is the song. Southern Nights. Southern Nights. That it just went right along with what I was doing. And I'd never been Glenn Campbell, that's it. And it went right along with what I was doing. Never been to Pensacola, and I was really kind of cool. First time I ever flew into Atlanta. Boy, that's an airport. Jesus, God. You have to get on to what? You get on different tracks, little trains, little trams to take you different parts of the airport. If your flight probably is from another part of the airport, 5 miles away or something. God. Anyway, I got down there and it was nice and warm. It was January, nice and warm. Nobody wearing coats. Just pretty, nice weather, all that kind of good stuff.
And you get off there, like you're from Wisconsin, wearing a toga and everything, or not toga, toboggan.
That's right. That's exactly right. And they made fun of my accent.
I've often thought about that.
Yeah.
Even from.
I guess it's where you are. You're relative to what.
Yeah.
And I got assigned to aviation school art area, art room, and so I noticed that there were a lot of different uniforms. Well, there were probably 10 different countries of men and women being trained as aviators or pilots, and so not only did I have to recognize officers from our country, you had to recognize officers from their country. So when I went up to the art room, there were 3 or 4 more artists in there. They were all civilians. They had been in the Navy, and this was their civilian job, to do artwork. And I was the only guy that was in the Navy at the time, and so I told them the whole story. They got a big kick out of it at my expense. And I had a good time with them.
Put a note on the door that only people below this rank that have to salute me can come in.
Yeah. It was a nice experience because these guys were funny and they liked my story and they kidded me about it and so if they sent me out to get something, which they did once or two or three times, they sent a guy with me. And he would nudge me if I had to salute somebody. And we would just smile. Hello, hello, hello. They sent me over to get a pilot, what do you call, flight suit. Real fancy suit that a pilot would wear. All kinds of pockets and things, little places to put things. And my job was to do a drawing of that suit for the instructors and then indicate which things went in which pilot, in which pocket. And so, you do a lot of labeling and pointing and so on. Took me a couple of days to do it because I had to make it about, it's 3 foot by 4 foot thing so the big audience of people could see it. And then I was ready to take it back. So I went back to the art room or whatever, and I said, guys, I got to take a flight suit back. And one of them guys said, you idiot, if you had got your size, we'd have let you have this suit. And I thought, well, what the hell would I do with a flight suit, though, We're out downtown, people think, well, you're a pilot, too? Oh, yeah. But I'm seeing these stories about that.
Long Islands.
the barracks weren't barracks. They were little kind of motel apartments kind of a deal on a grassy area. It was really nice. I shared a room with a guy that had a completely other job. We rarely saw each other, but we respected each other's spaces. We didn't have any trouble. But it was like a motel kind of thing. You open up the door and there's grass in front of you, and the sun's shining and it's January and for us northerners that was kind of a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I'd have brought my
peninsula is around the Gulf, isn't it?
Pensacola is on the what do you call that part? Panhandle side. Yeah, I would say basically above Panama City area.
I was trying to get a geographical.
Yeah, it's not too far. After you leave Pensacola, you're almost immediately in the beach area. What have you? You're not very far to the Gulf after that.
To take a small tumble back to your teaching at West Terre Haute, outside of Larry Bird, there was a young man that you taught pointillism to for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Man, I was a chubby guy then. Oh, man. I wish I'd have been more better looking guy. He put me into Sally Jesse Raphael's show that their favorite teacher, I think, was the...
It was a surprise thank you thing.
Yeah. And there was some other people who got the same thing from one of their students. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I thought I was going to debate scouting against YMCA or something.
Well, like that. After-school programs and their qualities.
Yeah, man, I was all geared up, had my scout uniform on. You had your scout uniform on. Both little tubbies.
Yeah, tubby as hell, and didn't know. Oh, it's a TV show. Maybe you should smile. I was growling at the camera pretty much the whole time.
We didn't make a very good impression, I don't think. But at any rate, it was nice. His, again, names. He probably
you were very professional with it, and because we still haven't been able to watch the damn show. We still haven't found a clip of it. I search online every once in a while to try to find a clip.
I would have probably gone, oh, God.
I want to see my scroll. But hell, I even looked for the other episode that we watched record with the older celebrities, Horseshack and so forth.
That was a fun time because we got to meet some of them.
Yeah, I had Horseshack, the voice of Uncle Scrooge, and also happened to be the owner of Mr. Ed.
Well,
I had a few people sign my hat.
Yeah, I had a heck of a good conversation with the gentleman, with Mr. Ed. Again, the name, boy, it goes way back to black and white television. We stood out there on the street waiting for our cars to pick us up.
Waiting for our limo to show up.
For 20 minutes, maybe. So that was cool to have a 20-minute conversation with somebody like that.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? God, they're human people, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Horseshack, very nice, just chatting up.
We went up at the elevator with one of the stars, or down one, or down anyway, it was a young lady, who still is acting, I believe she is in her age. Older now, man. At any rate, let me see what we're talking about besides that. Went to this young man came into West Vigo, moved there from somewhere else. Obviously, if you move there from somewhere else, I don't know where, but at any rate, him and his dad were both kind of autistic to begin with. And, man, he took off. He was probably one of my best students right off the bat. And I introduced him to pointillism. And, that goes back to Impressionism and what have you, post-Impressionism. And he got attracted to it. He got so, man, he was doing all his sketches. I required sketches of students. Every 6 weeks they had to turn in a sketchbook. And I would grade it. And every one of them turned in to be pointillism. And I thought, wow, good for you, man. It takes a lot of patience to do pointillism.
Yeah.
And quite good at it. I mean, wow. I got to thinking, Jesus, this is about the best pointillism in sketches I've ever seen. And sure enough, he turned that into a business in St. Louis, where he did pointillism drawings of Elvis Presley on like 3-foot by 4-foot drawings of that man. Pointillism. God, how many hours of just point. Oh, gee, man, God. And he got good prizes for it.
And to the point where it went on to be Presley's family, portrait of Elvis.
That's right.
In pointillism.
He joined. They got him into the family business some way or other. He gave me one.
Yeah, the one that was on the show, they ended up giving to us.
Yeah. Gee, Christmas. Well, I probably have the information on the back of it.
Yeah.
It's stored right now, but it's in good shape. Okay, that's a good point right there. Now, I've forgotten about that. I'm glad you should sit beside me in 21st. If Kurt doesn't think of something, you will. Hey, listen, remember. But God, if you hold it to 30 minutes, I mean, we take 30 minutes to talk about one thing.
Yeah. I mean, the first video of this so far was an hour and 13.
That's why I'm passing around these little pictures that you can, that I've made, that just pass them from one thing to another, and so they'll be reading a little bit about other things that I'm doing, and that'll kind of fill in the gap, I hope. Okay, we were at Pensacola, and that's about all the stories I have about that, other than enjoying the heck out of it. My wife went with me once when I was down there. I think I went down there twice. I'm glad she did. I wish now that I look back, regrets. You might as well forget. There's some things you can't repair. I wish I'd taken her to more places with me instead of staying home with the kids. Boy, Carolyn, I hope you remember that or think about that, or you're looking down on me. Next was Coronado, California. I never heard of it, but it's right outside San Diego. It's one of the more posh, upscale subdivisions. It's on an island. There's a huge curving bridge that goes over. It's a really beautiful bridge. It connects mainland to Coronado. And there's a famous hotel, the Del Coronado, where they shot a movie with Marilyn Monroe and somebody else. That's all I can think of. That you see it in the background all the time. Beautiful place, very Victorian, I guess you would think. And so, at any rate, they taught SEALs. That was the SEAL training area, and War College. So, top secret stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I had they had checked me out, and I had a top secret security clearance, so I was good. Not that I could handle it well. They didn't know that I was naive as hell and didn't know anything about anything. So they assumed by that time I was a chief, and chiefs should know everything. Chiefs were in the Navy is like a big old uncle that knows everything. The younger guys go to the chief and ask him questions, and so they're both enlisted. So he tells them stuff that an officer might not tell them, kind of a deal. At any rate, I was assigned a group of artists. I think there were a dozen, no more than that, maybe 10. And the director of that complete art shop was an Apache Indian. But I get a kick out of saying this. He looked like Andy Griffith. He didn't look like, but he dressed very Indianish, turquoise and silver, and yeah, nice person. I liked him a lot. And I remember a Philippine Navy young man that did cartoons, wonderful cartoons. And there was an ex-Green Beret guy, big burly black guy that did flowers. Beautiful flowers.
Police Academy, Hightower.
Yeah.
He leaves the academy and goes and does a flower shop.
I remember a Mexican gentleman who was civilian, and it changed my mind about Mexican because I had this stereotype of little grunty brown guys picking up watermelons, which is a bad stereotype. I wouldn't. That's bad to say, but I'm over it now. He was very sophisticated. He wore suits every day, and he would bring symphonic music, play it for us, and then explain who did it and all of the things that involved in that. And so there was a lady that did excellent artwork there. Sat right behind me. No, the Mexican guy sat right behind me. I think she sat one over. But we were all in the same room. So we all had different assignments.
So you're saying that young man was just south of you?
Yeah, right. Well, this gentleman from Mexico was probably 50, or something like that. Yeah. In fact, there were very few people younger than me in there, if any. I think the Philippine guy was a younger person. So we did various things. All of us had different assignments. I'm trying to think of the stuff I did. I think I did a brochure for them. Who knows? It wasn't important. It wasn't that important. It wasn't like top secret stuff. It was just day-to-day school stuff. Instruction for SEALs, instructional things for the War College, and every night I walked off the base and walked about half a mile down to Del Coronado and hung around the hotel. which was fun. And there were shops. It's a really top quality hotel. Really, I don't know how much you'd pay per night now or then, but you wouldn't be. It was luxurious. And the bottom floor was full of shops of different kinds, and so you walked around and looked in the windows and lovely paintings on the wall and what have you. Then I'd walk back, go to bed. I don't know what got into me. I brought a camera, and you might as well put your camera away when you go on that base. It's secret stuff going on. I mean, really secret stuff. I had a damn camera, and the idiot in me, I took a walk one afternoon after I got off. Instead of going out, I went down in. And, oh, look at that, we got porpoises there. Oh, not cute. When I take your picture, those porpoises were being taught how to plant bombs on enemy ships. And a security guy caught me and bawled the absolute hell out of me, and I don't blame him. Took my camera. But he just took the film out, and I got the camera back. But the film went bye-bye. So I've done like stupid tricks like that for a while. In fact, I think I've done a stupid trick yesterday. Who knows? I'm full of those. But I learned kind of the hard way on that one too. By the time that I was through there, I had changed stereotypes on Indians and Mexicans and Philippines. The big black guy, and I say that in loving terms. I liked him a lot. And I ran around together in San Diego that weekend between the 2 weeks, and in his Corvette convertible. And man, I was sitting in the passenger seat, and the big black guy was driving around. We had a heck of a good time. Went down. There's a beautiful park there. I'll think of the name of it. Very famous park. That's beautiful. And waterfront had a big sailing ship there you could go through. San Diego is a beautiful place. Beautiful. And you know, it's a stone's throw into Mexico. I mean, the south end of the place is the border. And so, and Stephen John, my oldest son, lived there for a while, in a little subdivision that actually bordered on Mexico. I mean, he and I went down a couple of blocks from his house later on and listened to Tijuana music across the fins. Yeah, Tijuana crap was being peddled. The minute you get over the border, you're in Tijuana, and there's like 100 shops right there to sell you stuff.
He's American. He's an idiot. He'll buy whatever the hell we peddle over here.
That's right. That's those white American.
Made in Mexico. Come on.
Caucasian people come down and want something from Mexico, and I've got it. Okay, let's see now.
Now I remember like the one time that I've been on a commercial flight. We were going to San Diego.
Yeah.
I think to see Steve graduate from Naval Academy.
You were with us, huh? See, I don't remember that. Yeah.
I have literally 3 memories from that entire trip. One of them's just because I have a picture of me on the plane wearing the headphones.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like maybe 5. And then I remember a small section of road, and then actually driving by the base. So the ocean's over here, the base is over here. That's all I remember.
Yep. Okay. Well, then you were with us on that part. Yeah. Did we? Oh, okay. Well, you didn't remember anything else. Okay. Well, we probably took you to the park. We ran around there for a while. Any rate, that was a good time, wasn't it?
I have a lot of random memories of locations and such.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
About half of them I've been able to figure out where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've been there. Hell
yeah.
You know,
you were too young to say, well, we're on the West Coast and in California and so on, yeah.
If we drove there, I could have probably told you how to get back.
Yeah.
But since we flew, I could tell you how to get to the airport.
You had this uncanny ability to do that. You had kind of a map in your brain. We showed that to that one senator, didn't we?
The one in Indianapolis that took us underground tunnels and so forth.
Yeah, he met us over there, and we went through a bunch of tunnels to get into an area that my wife and I were going to talk to a group of people about making a bike route in this area. We had it all figured out. And so we made our presentation, and then I happened to mention that you had this thing about being able to remember routes, and he bet me you couldn't take us back to the car, and you won. You did it at that age. Yes, you did. So there. So there.
Well, look, I guess speaking of me as children folk, around the era of '82, when I was hatched,
yeah,
Steve and his wife at the time, Rhonda, some things happened amongst them, and Steve needed to go to California. Rhonda onward, wherever she needed to go.
Yeah, they separated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we took over and never regretted it at all. Good boy. You know where the trailer was that you lived in? Mm-hmm. Right south of the pool.
But for the most part, I remember the Giles house as being home.
It was. Nice home. And your brothers and sisters, so to speak, kind of a generation older than you were, were in their teens or something of that nature. I don't recall exactly, but anyway, you had some pretty good role models. They were pretty good to you, I do believe. All three of them in different ways. So we had a good little family there. We lived there a long time and had a lot of good experiences. Boy, that was my favorite house of having family. I think I liked the 309 West Giles house better in some ways, but that one a block up on 236 really had a lot of memories in there, man. A lot. Yeah. Good ones. Remember when we got the TP stuff and started getting ready to go to camp? Those poles being delivered and so on.
That's actually the thing I was looking at on here to mention.
Yeah. Well, going back to the Navy so I can get this out of the way. Okay. From Coronado, SyncPack evidently thought, well, there's a cool old nut there, little young nut at the time. Let's get him. So the Commander-in-Chief Pacific, that's what SyncPack is shortened from. Commander-in-Chief Pacific requested me to come over and do artwork for him. Actually, it was more map and chart work. Very little actually illustrations and so on. Nothing instructional at that time. It was informational. Very interesting and kind of super mysterious kind of stuff. The headquarters was on a mountain behind Pearl Harbor, and the hospital. Let me back up on that. There was a World War II hospital that had been turned into the headquarters. It was large and it had the rooms and everything. Of course, they remodeled it, but that's what it was to begin with. And now it appears on television on NCIS Hawaii as their headquarters or something. You always see it in the background. This long...
I've actually found that on Google Maps before.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been looking for the hospital that Regina's born in.
Mm-hmm.
But she was born in Honolulu. But I was just looking around because she was born on a naval base in Honolulu.
All right.
And when I would search for that, the historic World War II hospital would come up as, you know...
Yep. Now, interestingly enough, they put me downtown in Waikiki Beach to live, stay in the military resort, a high-rise hotel, a lovely place, about the 10th floor or something. I had a balcony, look over downtown Honolulu. Boy, it was rough. They didn't have any windows in the hallways. I mean, 10th floor, you could, where you would have a window at the end of the hallway, open, or open area. So that was kind of interesting and hard to get my head around, because that was my first trip to Hawaii. And I thought, my God, it's so mild here that they don't even need windows. Wow, you know. And they gave me a car. I'd like to say it was a convertible little dinky thing, but it was just a rental car. Mm-hmm. Doggone it. Let me think now. I would drive to work. I would drive to work on Hawaii 1. How many years? How could there be an interstate highway on an island? Think about that. Yeah. Anyway, it took me 15, 20 minutes to get to work, according to how the traffic was. Wasn't very bad because I had to report to work at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I was off at noon, so that gave me a lot of fun time.
Oh, yeah.
But I had to get to bed fairly early, or, God, I'd get up at 3. I went in there, and it was the war room. It was the main room where everything came into there from all over the Pacific Ocean. It was guarded heavily by Marines with loaded rifles. The minute you walked in, you had to have your ID beside your face so that it matched. Mm-hmm. If it didn't match, you might have a bullet right there because you had a rifle pointing at you. It was that important. You got on the elevator and you went up. I think it was the 3rd floor. It's only been 70 years ago. 3rd floor, I think. And when it opened up, there was a rifle pointing at you, and you better have
I shaved the stash. It's still me.
It's still me. Yeah, right. See, you went down. I remember you went down a hallway. You went to a door that had the little button thing there. You had to have the right, and you had to do it in 10 seconds or it recycled. So I knew the numbers, and so I did. I got in, and the room was about the size of a half court of a ballpark, basketball floor. There was a catwalk above. The ceiling was probably 20 foot high, and there was a 2nd floor in there, and the catwalk was patrolled by Marines with rifles, and they were walking all around all the time. There was a desk where I worked. The red phone to the White House was a few feet away from me to call and say we're in deep shit, that kind of stuff. You better do something about it. All night there would be things come in on telegraph and God knows any kind of secret way to get messages in there from spies all over the country. I would take that information and formulate it into charts and graphs and maps for the Admiral to make his briefing at 10 o'clock. And better be ready for the Commander-in-Chief Pacific at 10 o'clock. So, I would get things ready, stack them up, And I pretty much, I did it. I mean, I never had any complaints. I'm trying to think.
Well, obviously you didn't have any complaints. You're still here, so.
I'm still here. I'm not in military prison somewhere or shot.
Floating in the ocean.
Was it there? Yeah. I got his dates, Iraq or Iran. I think it was Iran. Took people out of our embassy. Took them hostage. I think there may be more than half dozen, maybe about 10 people hostage. I don't remember why, but they found them. Our secret people found them. They sent me a rough drawing of the compound they had them in, and I was drawing a more refined version for the SEALs to go in and get them when they were released and didn't have to use it. I don't know, the negotiation finally came through, but we were preparing to go in and get them, and I was drawing the maps for the SEALs to memorize them. They couldn't take a map with them, so they knew where they were, and what room, and so on.
Sort of the layout of the area.
Yeah. That had to be then. Now, I was there for 5 years in January, which is mighty handy. I took my lovely wife, I believe, twice, and now that I look back, I wish I'd taken her every time, but I didn't. I did not. She stayed home and took care of the children, and I didn't have a regret. Now, finally, the Pentagon took me away from him, and I got assigned to the Pentagon Secretary of the Navy, doing similar stuff for him that I did for SINCPAC. Pentagon is interesting. Huge building. I mean, we're talking 23,000 people work there. That's a lot of people.
That's roughly the population of the town of Terre Haute.
Yeah.
The county of Terre Haute is, about 70,000, but the town itself, or no.
Much more than that.
Yeah, never mind. That'd be about 60,000 for Terre Haute.
Yeah.
Half the population of Terre Haute.
Yeah.
In one building.
Yeah,
in West
that's
Terre
right.
Haute.
The parking.
West Terre Haute. Washington, D.C.
Now you got me doing that. The parking lot was, my God, so big. I'm glad they didn't give me a car. I rode the subway. Well, maybe I have a car that I put. I don't remember, man. Doesn't matter. It's a nightmare driving in D.C. If you don't know your way around, you just ought to take a bus. God. At any rate, I was on the Virginia side. They put me in Crystal City. Crystal City is one little subdivision below the Pentagon along the big Beltway. And I rode the subway in because at that time the subway went under the Pentagon. So I would get off and go to work right there. I would get in the subway in the basement of my hotel, Marriott, I believe, and get off in the basement of the Pentagon.
So through the work week, you didn't even have to see the daylight.
That's right.
This goes even further to the vampires of Washington,
I remember
D.C.
going up a stairway that had really thick concrete on both sides. you know, supposedly security. But then this bombing thing started. It's way before 9/11 when they had a plane go into the side of the Pentagon. Hey, you know, the cardinal that was there yesterday is now outside our kitchen window today. I see his little red tufts up there. So there was such a thing. Now shortly after that, they stopped the subway going under there, and I took a taxi. I remember that now. And it let me out fairly close, and I didn't have to walk 3 miles to get to the place. I was on the 5th floor, the top floor, as I recall. There might have been another attic or something up there. Inside ring, there are 5 rings in that Pentagon, and that's not talking about the shape of it. It's talking about there's an outside ring, little grassy area, another ring of offices, grassy area, another one, etc. 5 of them. I was on the inside, and I had a window that looked out over the inside park type area across the hall. Our little door that was into the art room opened it up, and a lovely window looked down on them. It was probably the size of a couple of football fields inside that ring. Trees, gazebos, vendors, park benches, everything for noon lunch if you wanted to go in there. Of course, if 23,000 wanted to go there, it would be a little crowded. Most of them probably just ate in their room because it's such a pain in the butt to get out of the place and then come back into it, security-wise. I didn't take lunch hours. I brought in a little sack lunch, but I walked the halls my entire lunch hour because you didn't have to salute officers inside there. Every one of them was an officer. You'd just be going like that all the time. So you didn't have to salute them. You know, if you nodded, and that's fine. There were paintings and drawings and photographs in every hallway of every ring of every floor from Revolutionary War on. You were looking at original artwork done in like 1790 by somebody doing a watercolor or something, a drawing of a battle going on. And that was stirring, man. I mean, wow. World War I paintings and drawings. Oh, God. And I never got a third of them walked in 2 weeks. Yeah. But it was crazy. We did all kinds of stuff with the Secretary of the Navy. Some of it was secret stuff. Some of it was just plain poopy. I did a pamphlet for NATO in Paris that was coming up, and I begged them to let me deliver it. And they said, "No, you silly man, we're going to send it over poop." And you know, when a person of distinction talks from the Pentagon or the White House or someplace that in government, you'll see a sign behind them that says the White House or the Pentagon, some kind of a pretty little plaque thing. That's probably about 4 foot wide or 3 foot wide. I did those for different reasons. The NATO one, for example, had one of those for the speaker behind the head, and then something that hung on the front of the podium that will be put up there. I did a pamphlet for the families of the people attending about things to do in Paris. So I I did my own little travel thing. They gave me the information, and I translated it into some drawings and a little bit prettier than just a chart. You get an 8.5 by 11 paper.
Mm-hmm. Here, photocopy these. No, I'm
No.
making nice.
No, for some reason there wasn't a lot of photocopy machines around.
Yeah, I bet. Especially now that everyone has a high definition camera in their pocket.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Boy, if I had a camera come out of my pocket there, I would have been shot right there in the hallway. Yeah. Yeah. You get tours if you go to the Pentagon. You could get a tour, and I think maybe they would take you in a couple of the hallways, and you would see what I meant. But all the hallways are that way. They all look alike. You gotta remember what floor you're on and so on, because they're pretty much all just alike. Let me see now. It happens that, let me think, how did this work? When I was in Washington, D.C., taking my 1985 training at NASA, I was still in the reserves, and that piece of information fell on the ears of the people deciding to give me a raise in rank. I became a senior chief while I was there, the highest enlisted rank you could get while I was doing that.
Yeah, see, I didn't know any of those, any of the rankage that you ended up at.
Oh, yeah. And I hardly deserved it other than the fact that I was completing the tasks that were given me in proper order, and I wasn't raising too much hell in any way. I took my lumps when I had to, and that's the way I learned. Is someone to bawl me out or set me down privately and tell me something. That's the only way I learned.
And someone that was seeing all these secrets that could draw images from their mind kept their mouth shut.
Yeah.
Give them another rank.
Yeah.
A little bit of a raise, a little bit of rank.
Keep him around. Well, that's my Navy story. I retired from the Navy after 13 years in the reserves.
I think I've seen your art studio there in Terre Haute at the reserve office one time. And it might have been when we were loading up your stuff.
What am I going to tell you? What's it going to tell you? Boy, that left me right away. Oh, I have the Act Dutra, they call it, the month that, the 2 weeks you're active duty is counted as Act Dutra in the region, one of those, what initial things, what do you call those things? The Navy, the military is just full of them. I mean, PODs, plan of the day, and everything like that. Anyway, I lost it again. My God. Oh, man. I think it's just flying on the floor here somewhere. I didn't have enough active duty time to be eligible for the Legion. Even though I was 13 years in the reserves. You had to have so many years of active duty. Well, I don't blame them, but it was kind of sad. Now, I don't drink or smoke, and that's what they do at our local Legion. If you don't drink or smoke, there's no damn reason to go there.
Well, there is quite a bit of comedy to that, though. I was with it for 13 years. Wasn't enough time for
and I only worked for the Secretary of the Navy.
Yeah. I was only a part of NATO.
That's right.
I can't go have a beer.
That's right. Yep. I have tried since I was one of the few first people, I'm not sure I was number one. Probably not. But the few beginning people in that particular thing going on many years ago, the details were sketchy on me. I've had many a time when I wanted the guy and the lady here at the courthouse was going to look up my records, and so I could get some kind of a card that showed some kind of a military card, which I don't have. That I did what I did. I have no proof. I have no proof whatsoever. They can't find anything. I know I did top secret stuff, but that doesn't mean my duty was secret. I don't know, man. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, when I'm laying out in my old coffin, it doesn't. Nobody gives a crap, and including God, who hopefully is welcoming by that time. I have stories for him. Boy, oh boy, he'll get a kick out of some of them if he missed them.
Well, speaking of the retiring of the Navy, I claim it more that you paved the way for the computers to take over.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
How
a
you
lot of the things
TV2.
that I did by hand, done by computer, by many less people. Mm-hmm. In fact, my rate that I had, Illustrator Draftsman, has been dropped. It no longer exists. It's lumped into something else related to computer art and so on. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I wasn't trained in computer art. I am not now, and at my age, I don't feel I could give shit less. If someone needs artwork from me, it's old school. Mm-hmm. If they want me to do some kind of a brochure, little trifold or something, it's a paste up for me. The old rubber cement paste up. That's the way I was trained. I can do them well. I do them, top notch. I know how to do them. Mm. But to sit down at a computer and form one up, couldn't do it to save my life. And that's what they need. And after I do the paste up, I'll say, well, how can I put that into my computer, So, it something that somebody could have done in half an hour took me a day.
Yeah. Because I remember you actually coming home from TV2 and it's like, well, I was replaced by computers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was prior to me knowing much about computers either. So they got they got a computer that goes up and down and acts like a printer that prints out the information every morning that they need to change or whatever. To replace Dad with the computer, that's weird. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Hey, there was the old teletype. When they send the news over this yellow paper, it has a name. Is it teletype?
I believe so. That sounds right.
There was one in the newsroom.
Now it's turned into teleprompter.
Yeah, no, that's not it. There was one in the newsroom that just kept spitting out national and regional news. And the news people would read it, of course. Now they would get it differently. That's totally been replaced, but then it was going. They turned out the yellow paper by the zillions. I mean, they threw yellow paper away every day that would fill 2 or 3 garbage bags. What a waste, by the way. Mm. So I took one home and I made kites out of them. Man, I had the world's best box kite. It not only went this way, it went that way. I mean, it was 3D. I took it out here to the old fairgrounds, where the new high school is built, back where the parking lots are now, near the back end of the golf course, or the east end of the golf course. And I started flying that baby. I had it on twine string, and then the wind took it like everything, man. It went right up. I didn't have to do any running or anything. So I was, letting it out, and then after a while, and it got so it was pulling me, I couldn't kind of much hold it anymore. So I tied it around a telephone pole, and after a while, it broke that twine string. It was that strong, and I looked for it for a couple of days. I figured it went down about where maybe behind the car wash area, behind that, and never did find it, but it was big. I know it would have probably broken me to the ground a little bit, but not a lot. I had pretty strong pieces of wood on it, lumber. The facing material, a little smaller facing material you put around lintels or something. That's what I built it with.
It's a little hard to get kites to fly with 4x4s in them.
That's right. Pretty tough. In tornadoes it works.
Oh yeah.
But you have trouble standing up. But at any rate, that's my box kite story, and I'm sticking to it.
So you did mention teepee.
You and I and Carolyn stayed in a teepee for a couple of months, a month and a half, something like that.
That's through the summer.
At Camp Friedestein, through the summer program at a Boy Scout camp. We set up the teepee and a situation where the people in the camp would come and take pioneering and a couple of other things that related to outdoor skills. And we felt like it was kind of a cool way to do it. And Jimmy here did a boy. He got a mohawk, and he dressed the part of a young half-breed. Because my wife played a white woman, and I played an Indian. It's a fat, red-headed old Indian, I guess.
Now you were the settler.
A settler.
Mom was the Indian.
Mm-hmm.
She actually had more Indian blood than either of us did. So. She portrayed a Shawnee that.
That's right.
You came through town and
yeah
fell for.
Yeah, that's right. Now, see, I had got that backwards.
And I was some weird mutt.
But we had a couple of different vintage tents nearby that we had our classes in. It was really a nice setup. We had a kind of a fancy thing around that you had to go through a gate. I felt like it was a pretty nice setup, my gosh.
An elk antler that you actually found out in the woods.
Yeah, I know where I found that near Mount Rushmore. Me and Carolyn were walking around the woods out there. God knows why we were doing that. I don't know. Maybe I think we were trying to find an interesting angle from the wooded area. And we picked up this antler sticking up, and when I picked it up, God, it was, what, 4.5?
It's about 4.5, 4 foot long.
Yeah. I thought, what a nice souvenir. So I brought it home. Yeah.
We won't mention that part about it being in a state forest.
Yeah, a national forest.
Yeah,
taking something out of it. I'm not sure that is a crime, but probably is.
Well, I mean, it's animal refuge, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was laying on the ground like a poop,
Yeah.
So.
But yeah,
I didn't kill the elk to get it.
Yeah. I remember turning that into the gateway into the axing area, the tote and chip.
That worked out well too, didn't it?
Yeah. We'd fight raccoons every night.
Oh, I know.
Get into
we had a bathroom in that toilet. I mean, in a teepee. Yeah, we had a toilet in the toilet. In the teepee, we covered it with a bear rug, remember? So if you came into it, you didn't see pot. It was a potty that you'd have in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course we emptied it every morning. But, it was covered in a bear rug, so you didn't say, oh, look, there's a toilet.
A bear does shit in the woods.
Yeah.
On a porta-john.
We had all three cots. We had three cots in there. It was a big teepee.
It was a very
And we had
large
a fire in
teepee.
the middle.
Yeah, we could have. I don't think we ever did actually have the fire inside.
Okay.
We did have the flappy abilities.
Yes, we did. Learned a lot about a teepee when we put it up.
Yeah.
That's a pain in the butthole.
And hauling them sticks around wasn't too easy either, since we didn't do a trailer.
Remember what we did?
We roped them over a minivan, or it wasn't a minivan,
station wagon.
We roped them over a station wagon.
And they hung over the front and the back.
Yeah, damn near draped the ground.
I think they were 20 foot long.
I think so too. The 20 to 30. It was somewhere in there.
We took back roads from Sullivan to Camp K.
Oh yeah.
Because, I mean, it was dangerous. Dangerous. We certainly couldn't take a main road. We made it. We made it. I think it took 3 or 4 of us to get that the canvas on the teepee.
Oh yeah.
There's a trick to it, but the first time around, you didn't know what it was, and that's the only time we needed it.
And we never really had space to practice.
No.
So it was, hey, let's buy all this crap.
Yeah.
Go out to Camp Creekstein. And just set it up.
That would be cool. I wish I had it now.
Well, the person you ended up selling it to became a pretty good friend too, though. That was Jack Bennett and Marcia Bennett.
Yeah.
We met them somewhere, somehow, but he was a park person, like the supervisor.
Vigo County, right?
Yeah, for
Fowler Park.
Was it Fowler?
I think so.
It was further south than that. Prairie Creek.
Prairie Creek. That's right, Prairie Creek Park.
She designed the imaging on the maple syrup containers that they sell for there, and he ran everything else.
I forgot that. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of memories out there at Camp Cretenstein. I mean, you more than I.
Yep.
You were camp director at one point. And
if I had the money, which I do not, I would buy it now. It's up for sale.
Yeah.
I would buy it.
I think I would too.
Yeah. I would make it a scout camp, I think, a private scout camp. You know what I'd add? Treehouse camping. Of course, the insurance would go sky high.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. A lot of different interesting ways to camp. They probably have already torn down some of the buildings. Of course, we both know they have a new dining hall. I don't know what they're going to do with it now. It would work for any kind of a camp, so if it turned into a religious camp or any kind of Girl Scout camp, it'd work. The old dining hall was cooler looking on a hillside. One side was ground, so to speak. The other side was like 2 floors off. And so there was a steep hill involved.
Built on a sharp hill.
Yeah. Do you remember, maybe you were too young, one of my staff members, who, by the way, was going to Rhodes-Hulman as an engineer, had the ability in his fingers to clamp into the different divisions between the concrete blocks on the backside and climb that wall.
He free climbed the cinder block wall.
Yes. And then they just reached up and got that railing up there, swung himself over. It may be 20 seconds.
I mean, I did the same thing, except for I was on what's it called? Rappelling.
Yeah.
I rappelled down it with strings and harnesses and things getting squished that I didn't want squished.
That's right, yeah. Makes a real man out of it.
Or not.
Yeah. I can't remember his name, of course. God, how many kids have I had that can't remember their names? Gee, many Christmas. Well, I tell you, we all had a good staff. I had a good staff. Yep, we got along. Yeah.
The Handicraft Lodge was there for ever and a few days.
One of the first buildings, and it was paid for by a patron there in Terre Haute. Sullivan Morgan told me the story of who paid for it. So I named it that when I was staff. Camp director. I named it that and put a plaque up. I know I'm sure. Oh, I found a picture of me doing that mural on the end.
The Thunderbird?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And there's so I went about 20 years between being able to go there. Like, as a child, I went there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went with a Boy Scout group just about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It's sort of one of the last summers they were actually doing Boy Scouts there, I guess. But, just memories. I remember, doing the morning flag ceremony here, and that's where I stayed in the teepee. And that's Dad's artwork. There's a picture of Dad. There's Dad's artwork.
Oh, the paddles. The paddles, yeah. Wonder if the paddles were there. I doubt it. I don't know if they left them or not. To the Indianapolis people, they meant nothing, and so I don't know.
Pretty bad when an organization like the Boy Scouts of America that has been around for 150 years doesn't really care about history of...
No. They kind of leave it up to a council.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the council doesn't go down, that's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
I also, I was talking about what I would do with the camp. I would put the water, what do you call it, swimming
area.
The waterfront director, that's what they call him, on maybe a floating cabin over on the backside. Wouldn't that be fun? And and have a little boat there hooked up to his dock.
See, when I was a child and we went there, you'd go down this big hill down to the swimming area.
Yeah.
And then you'd hang a left and go through this wooded area over this little creek bridge that had evidence of beaver chewings everywhere.
That's right. We had beavers there.
To get back there to the rifle range.
Oh, yeah.
They since moved the rifle range to behind where they put on the Wednesday night family stuff.
That's the rifle
archery
range.
And
I had the rifle range was the same place that you went to when I was a kid. I learned to swim right there where it used to be the swimming area.
When you'd hear a pool, you'd have to dunk out under. Pool! I'm under the water. And didn't get any shrapnel.
The archery range was about where we had the teepee.
Okay.
That's about when I was a kid. I stayed in Hilltop, which I think is there as a tent camp, but it had a cabin. And I think I always stayed in the cabin. I told you a story. When you go into OA, the old time thing was you really had a dirty job to do the next day as to show your service to scouting. I had a dirty job. At Hilltop, they were making a new restroom, new bathroom, new latrine. They dug a hole, I'd say 4 foot, maybe 4.5 foot into the ground. It was square, they were getting ready to put the concrete thing on top of it. And it had been filled, it had been filled with water halfway, and it had stuff in it that human waste, shall we call it, floating in it. They gave me a number 10 can, about that big, and they said, get down in it and dip it out.
Wow.
That was my job. I did it. I thought, you son of a bitch, I'm going to do that. And if you get close to here, I'll throw some of the shit right on you. So I did it. I did it.
My trial was just to clean the brush off the back of the dam. Turns out the entire dam was a beehive.
Yeah, but, you got stung 25 times.
Yeah, not waist deep in fecal matter.
That's right.
Something Mike Rowe might do.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he was an Eagle Scout.
I think I knew that.
One of the last jamborees talking to people, walking around. You know, I wasn't there, but I heard about that. Anyway, when I went through, there was a lot more harassing and physical. I mean, when you got tapped out, the chief tried his best to pound you into the ground. Whereas now, I think they tapped you with
I don't even think there's any physical touch now, even.
Yeah, right. Well,
at least, when it was me, there was someone behind.
Mm-hmm.
So the chief would come up and, with a cupped hand on your shoulder, to sort of make the sound, but someone behind you would clap as loud as possible to make it sound like he damn near knocked you down the dam.
Well, this is when they did it, and then they pushed you like you were. And this was the dam. This was the old dam that they did it on, not the new dam. And
I'll be damned.
I'll be damned. There was brush back there, and they pushed you hard, and they caught you, but then they sit you in the brush with your head down, and yeah, it was a tough thing to go through. But you look forward to it in a way, you know. You wanted to be away, and you're a tough kid, you know. Of course, I suppose when somebody got a collarbone broken or something like that, and somebody sued.
That's the generational difference, I guess, as well. You know. Now they you might be able to do it and just point at you, and then. You know, back then, you know, the Indian person dressed up like an Indian comes up, punch you in the nose. Hey, you got in.
And when they pushed, I remember the chief would scream, which was also a kind of a, you know,
quiet night and startle in the face.
It was pretty impressive to a young scout, to someone that was filming a historically correct Indian encounter. They say, no. But this was it was nighttime, there was torches and, you know, dramatic, you know.
See, I remember the lighting of they'd shoot a flaming arrow into a floating thing around the water.
Yeah. That had, you know, you had to work with that thing. I mean, the fire would stop your arrow from floating too good. You had to use an extra long arrow and give it a heck of a shot for it to work right.
Now, even after you were sort of out of scouts, you know, you're still technically in scouts, but they still would hit you up for patch artwork and so forth.
Yeah,
continue your artwork.
Yeah. Now, of course, they do it by computer again.
Yeah.
I know there's guys there in Indianapolis, young scouts, artistic. They do it on computer, do a good job. So there.
I know there's just a few stories in here that I know Ken and Steve and Sherry would all love to hear as well. The mysterious stranger that saved you guys from being locked out of the car.
Wow, that's a story. Do you think it was my guardian angel? I think it was. And of course, there'll be skeptics say there's no such thing. And maybe they're right. I don't think so. We went, me and him, not you.
Yeah.
Me and Stephen John and Kenny.
Yep.
I'd had the stupid idea. I told Carolyn, I said, this is a beautiful fall day, fall time. Trees were beautiful. I believe it was September. That's something else. October. I believe it was October. Early on, and so I said, we're just going to take a drive. When we find a place to camp, we're just going to camp. We don't know where we're going to be. Stupid thing to say. We didn't have phones like this, you know. I would say, let me think. Let's say Ken might have been a first grader. Oh my God, which would have been 60, 65, 71 maybe, something like that, early 70s. So we took off with our little station wagon. We had a tent and all the stuff that we needed. So we were driving around. I thought, I am going to go to Cave in Rock State Park along the Mississippi and southern Illinois. So we arrived, and it was getting late, and we parked a little bit shy of the overlook that you have at Cave in Rock. Now, it probably has changed a lot now, but at any rate, we got out, and we went over and looked, and I told the boys about the pirates hanging out and so on, the stories that goes with that. Went back, and we had locked ourselves out of the car, and it was getting dark to a degree. I had two little boys. It was chilly now. What in the hell am I going to do? I was thinking about trying to find a rock and breaking the window, and here walks up a person who said, "Hi, looks like you're having trouble." Yeah, I am. I can't. Well, I'll get you in the car. Took I don't know what he took, a hanger. I don't know where he got it, and had us in just under a couple of minutes. And I said, "Oh man, thank you, God, you saved us." Anytime, don't thank you very. You're okay, man. Walked away and kind of disappeared. And I thought, I didn't think about it at the time. I was too grateful to be in the car, warming up, getting ready to go somewhere to. Probably I went to a motel because it's too late to set up with a couple of the boys. I forgot what happened later. But then after I got to thinking about it, I thought, my God, I didn't see anybody else around when I came up, or when I left. I mean, he walked off into oblivion. I don't know what happened. But I kind of think, and God will tell me later, it was my guardian angel.
I know Ken has a few stories like that as well, that are more paranormal in nature. But
yeah. Well, that house that we lived in on 236 had some people in it that weren't alive. They didn't seem to be mean. They didn't like certain kind of music.
Yeah.
They kept turning the music down when they didn't like the music. Liked to play the piano too, didn't they?
Yeah, I've collected from family a lot of stories, as well as my own, about the 236 Giles house. So Ken had a random boy show up out of nowhere. Knew the town, knew the people in it, never seen this boy before. Showed up out of nowhere. Hey, you want a human skull?
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Here you go. So that's what we had. We had a skull, and we did not tell it. We didn't tell the sheriff, I don't think.
I don't think so.
I don't think the boys wanted it. And
I mean, in theory, later on in life, it ended up at ISU to be tested on, but I can't remember even those outcomes. So.
Yeah. Interesting happenings in that house, but nothing became, ominous or violent of that nature.
I personally think growing up in that house with someone with your sort of mentality towards ghosts and so forth, I grew up in a haunted house. I sort of just thought it was, everyone's house is haunted.
Yeah.
Everyone has to tell their nighttime ghost to shut the hell up so they can go to sleep.
I've got spirits here. I think it's Mom and Dad and Grandma. Yeah. I talk to them every once in a while. I'm sitting here on the toilet, or I'm sitting someplace, and I hear noises that I don't think it's just the old house popping. I'll say, "Hey, who is that? Come on in here and talk to me." Well, Bertha's upstairs, maybe. Yeah, she came with her toy box.
Yeah, you've told me stories about where you thought you seen Grandma, and she told me stories about where she seen Paul.
My dad, yeah.
Yeah. I guess
I
it's
don't
a
doubt
generational
that.
thing now in this house, you know.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like maybe, if it's possible, I don't know. If you can come back and kind of check things out at your house. You know, maybe you don't leave the earth. Maybe, who knows right now how it works. But yep, we think heaven is up. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's this way. You know,
Yeah.
in a different realm.
And yeah, well, I one thing when I get asked those kind of things, I always point out, well, I guess we'll find out 100% when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
At that point.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
maybe even then you won't know. You'll just
Mm-hmm.
end up somewhere else and like, oh well, this is my reality now. So
I have a thing I have written out for you guys to find when I pass, to put on my casket somewhere.
An Easter egg hunt.
That says look to the back of the room and you'll see that I'm not too far away, that I have a campfire waiting on the other shore. And we're waiting for you.
So now that we went all sad, you've researched the family genealogy as well.
Yeah. I don't have it memorized, so I'm going to have to look at it. I've gone way back, and Ken's gone way back. We're going to have to compare notes.
I went back even further than y'all's.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I went back to 806.
Oh, my God. His name was Joe Smith.
Yeah.
He picks up garbage.
Let's see. I think it actually was Jean Le Turcot.
Oh, my God, French.
Yeah, it is a French name, but it's still from the UK.
Oh, he was kicked out of France.
I probably, but he was a squire at one, or somewhere in the family there was a squire to a king. So somewhere in there. So let's see.
That's about as far as all of us got, a squire to a king. That's what I was to the Commander-in-Chief Pacific.
All the kids wanted to hear you talk about the life lesson of don't use poison ivy.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. I don't know why. I didn't look. I pooped in the woods, so to speak. And I just grabbed some leaves and wiped off, poison ivy. And it's no fun to have it in your butt. No, but, it itches like crazy and so on and so forth. Oh, God, what a mess. And, of course, it traveled around under the old crotcheroo there, too. Two other things. And, oh, God, that was a mess. Oof.
Yeah. Had to throw it in, because it was requested a few times when we were first putting these stories together.
Oh, man. Globetrotter story. Me and my buddy Lonnie Chubb went through school together. I think it was the 5th grade. We heard the Globetrotters coming to town, and so he and I said, well, let's get their autographs, man. We had a hobby of getting people's autographs, and of course, you even get your classmates' autographs, which, what the hell would you do with that? But and your teachers and principal. I have a little autograph book, and would you sign my autograph book? And so, well, this will be cool. This will be really cool. And didn't think too much. We weren't racist at all, and our family wasn't racist. Well, there was people in town that were, obviously, and they still are. But here we waited on it. Now, it's an empty lot now. But the Moose Lodge was a building that was next to the Old Times office that faced Jackson Street, and across the street was the bank. And that's where they were put. And now they were arrived in the bus this time. I mean, they were being bussed around to towns. Now they fly in, and so on, and they were much more popular. But in those days, they were bussed in, and they were all black. And I'm sure city leaders didn't want them walking around the square raping their women or something. I don't know what. But they ushered them right upstairs in the Moose Lodge, which is second floor. And here's two little white boys following these big 6'8" black guys up the stairs. I didn't think anything about it. They didn't either. They were playing pool and sitting around drinking cokes and so on have you, and having a good time. And we went around getting their autograph, and they was patting us on the back. And we said, you know, we didn't feel a bit intimidated whatsoever. They were really nice people. And we got the autographs. I think I got Goose Tatum's autograph if I can find my book. I can't find it. Anyway, we went downstairs. And we went on to the gym around the corner, down to the old gym where they were going to play. They were bussed from the Moose Lodge around the corner and let out right by the door. Get out. Go straight in, man. Don't you look at the white women when you go in.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the time we didn't think too much about racism, but then you look back, you think, God, those guys are really under the gun. This was basically 99% white town back in, let me see.
No, even when I was growing up,
in
it
the
was
50s.
99%.
Yeah, in the 50s, and there was much more racism then. And we were ignorant of it. We didn't know about that. We knew they were nice guys, and we had a good time with them, and they had a wonderful show. They always do. And they got them right back in the bus and get the hell out of town. Yeah.
Let's see. I am jumping a little bit more around now, but we've hit a lot of the main.
Now we're running out of chronological stories, I think.
Oh yeah. So you know, back in your museum pregnancy. Your museum presidency. See, it's not just you, jerk. Shut up.
Yeah.
But
oh boy.
During the museum tenure of your presidency.
Yeah.
And then vice presidency.
Yeah.
Well, we already had the topic of haunting a little bit.
Yeah.
And racism.
Yeah.
Shorty Bennett.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh boy, we got a number of stories about that museum where I'm going to give this talk, by the way. Yeah. After my wife passed, I was lonely and didn't know what to do for a long time, and decided I'd see what the Historical Society was like. Maybe I liked it, and so I went, and all of a sudden they needed a president, and they said, when did you become president?
By the way, you got voted in. Oh, you just walked in the door, it's all right.
That's right. But we produced, we had a big gang of people, and we had good programs, and we had a newsletter that I had to write, totally prepare, fix the lettering, postage, divided up into counties and cities, and hand carry it to the post office. Anyway, that took a couple of days of my work, almost total, but I didn't have anybody to go home to. I almost just stayed at the museum out of loneliness. But at any rate, we had interesting things happen. I stayed overnight a lot of times. I had things to do, and so, you know, it was fun to type and play around in the museum by myself. Wasn't scared in there. But I felt the presence of somebody. But let me back up, because I'm getting in the middle of my story before I get you the first part. There were kids coming in from like junior high school, and when they got off the bus on the square, they would come in. They would go upstairs, a couple of minutes, come downstairs, and leave. And so I went up and asked our receptionist, I said, what do you think they're doing up there? They don't seem to be messing anything up. What are they doing up there? She said, well, there is a human skull up there for an Indian. They go look at it. What? You know, no one told me. And so she took me up there and showed me. It was a human skull, a baby skull, and bones, various bones. And it was in a coffee table that someone had built special. They put sand in it and they buried some of the stuff like it was really in the ground yet, put a glass over it. And they had it somewhere in an office, and I thought, oh my God, why would you do that, you know? Well, we didn't really have the ability to show humans bones in our museum. I didn't know what the regulations were, but we were a tiny museum. We didn't have the ability to have bones. So I thought, what am I going to do with those bones? I'm going to get them out. First of all, I'm going to get them out of that damn table. Mm-hmm. So I collected them and put them very nicely, very religiously in a nice box with some cloth in it. I didn't want to just throw them in the corner. And there was a powwow coming to town that next summer, and so I went out there and I found an Indian leader of the group. I don't know who it was or what, but he looked like an intelligent man, and he came and took a look, and he said, well, we should really bury them, but you know how people are. If they get word that they've been buried somewhere, they're going to go dig them up again. So we better not do that around here. So there's an Indian burial place in Niles, Michigan. We could bury them there. And I said, well, yeah, that's okay with me. I didn't exactly know where Niles is. It's just across the border from South Bend. You just go from South Bend border, Niles, Michigan. And so I thought, well, yeah. But up to now, okay, now we got bones upstairs. And I'm typing all night, and I feel a presence. And there's nobody there. But I feel like somebody's right behind me. It didn't exactly scare me, but it freaked me out a little bit. And I finally started talking to it. And I was told that those were the bones of a woman and a child that had drowned in the Wabash River, and when they were building the
Red Skeleton?
The bridge that they call the Red Skeleton Bridge, that was found, but they didn't tell anybody because they would stop the construction and they'd have to have archaeologists come out and so forth, so they just stuck it away, give it to somebody. So that's when it started traveling around. Ended up in Sullivan, somebody's possession, who eventually got tired of it and gave it to the museum.
Someone stupidly accepted it.
Yeah, someone did. I don't know who. But I thought, okay, it's a lady. Maybe that's a lady. So I called her Little Fawn. And I was talking to her. Wasn't scared. Didn't seem to scare me. And one night, I said, Little Fawn, I think you're behind me here, but if you are, show me some way, please. Well, we had paintings above the cabinetry on the south side, and the names of the people who had painted them out in front, so you could read who it was. And all of a sudden, not in a row, but one here and two or three down there, and then another one way down, fell off the thing at the same time. Well, you don't do that with a puff of wind. It would take them all off, rather than just two or three different places. Mm-hmm. So I considered that to be a sign. So, okay, gotcha. All right, I'm taking care of you. Don't you worry. We're going to get you where you belong. And so time went on, and I had lovely encounters with her. I mean, we just have nice chats. I was the only one talking overnight when I was down there working. And when the leader said to pack them up in a blanket and
a woven blanket.
A nice blanket. He said it could be one you have at the house. It doesn't have to be new. Well, I thought she deserved something better than that. So I bought her a new blanket. I bought a baby blanket, and I put the baby parts in a little blanket, and I folded it carefully, and then I put it in with her in her blanket, and it was a new blanket. And I put it beside me in the car, and I drove up to Niles, Michigan, which you can figure is about 200 miles, but the same distance as Chicago. And
roughly 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah. And I got to thinking, oh my God, don't speed or anything, because if a state policeman stops you and says, what's in the blankets? Human bones. Why? You know, I may be in trouble. So I got up there, and it starts with P. It's not Piankashaw. It's oh my God, the Indians up there were very nice people. There was a group of them, starts with a P. Oh boy, see if you can find it. They welcomed me. They put me up in a hotel. They paid for it. They paid for my gas. They took me out to dinner. I couldn't have had a better group of people welcoming me. Wow, they were very, very nice. Boy, I can't get the name of that tribe. Potawatomi. That's it. Potawatomi. That's it. Yeah. And so the next day we buried them. Now, there's a big cemetery right on the main drag, so to speak, and as you go to town. And in the back end, there is a distinctive cordoned-off area, Native American burials. And interesting, because they hand dug the burial. That was part of the ceremony. I was the only Caucasian. There probably were maybe a dozen gentlemen from the tribe, all in nice suits like you would have it at a funeral. And it was cold, windy, kind of rainy. It wasn't a pretty day. They dug it. We didn't arrive till it was about half finished on the digging. We didn't have to wait too long. The one man that was doing the ceremony was in feathers and leather and looked really great. And he did the ceremony in the native language. One of the gentlemen that was next to me whispered some of the stuff that was being said in American language, English. And he also put toys in for the baby to have in heaven, in the, what do you call it? I don't know. Great spirit. Wow. And he put in food.
For the passage, for the
celebration on food, corn and stuff in certain little dishes, and put in with the blanket and everything. And they covered it up. Real carefully. And he finished his ceremony, and and you've heard this before, what freaked me out was the man giving the ceremony, the chief, the leader, turned to me and said, "Little Fawn is on her way and she thanks you." I didn't tell him what I had named her, which, that hair stood up on my back of my neck.
Yeah.
Good Lord. So she was on her way, and that kind of convinced me that there is a spirit world there, man. Yeah. and they just communicated. Wow. Yep. Hey, they want you to tell scary stories about the county in the library next October.
Okay, awesome.
I told them about you.
I'll have to refresh.
Yeah, I think I better tell you now so you can come and jot down the different things you think about. Yeah.
Let's see. So you, Steve, Ken, and Grandpa went on a train trip up in Canada. You have remarks on that one?
That was nice. I'm glad. I'm glad we went. Just to start out with, I don't remember the boys going with us.
Well, I mean, Steve was the one that pointed it out, so.
He did. Well, it's been, you know. I maybe was 30-something, and now I'm 80. That's 50 years ago.
I say, Paul.
So I forgot stuff.
Paul passed about 5-6 years before I was born, so that would have been about 75 or so.
Yeah.
Already
76.
there.
He didn't see the July 4th, 1776 celebration, 1976 bicentennial of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Never made it. He died in April, I believe, of 1976. Quickly. He went away real quick. He walked to town with Mom. They had biscuits and gravy at that old restaurant in the back end of Milburn's.
Mm-hmm.
Walked back home. And Dad said, I don't feel too good. I think I'll lay down and rest a little bit. He didn't make it to the bed. He had a heart attack and collapsed right there. Mom tried to get a nitro in his mouth. She couldn't do it to save her life, and she called the EMTs, and they couldn't get him aroused, but they got him to the hospital, and evidently they got him going a little bit, but he didn't make it, and yeah, that's the way he passed. I was teaching school. They called me in and said, your dad is in the hospital. I said, well, I've got about an hour left in school. I won't leave right now. I'll wait till the school's over with, and I'll go up and see him. Should have went. Yep. Anyway, now, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Canada. Canada. The one thing I liked that I remember a lot is that train trip, the Agawa Canyon train. It's, I don't know where it starts out. Let me see, what town is right? It's not Sault Ste. Marie. On the other side is Thunder Bay. I think it's Sault Ste. Marie that it takes off in. It's one of the major towns in Ontario there on the lake, on the big lakes. And it goes north to the Agawa Canyon. Shortly after you get out of town, it's wilderness. You're on this train that it's kind of dated, you know. It kind of looks like an old Western train, kind of in a way. And they stop anytime you want to. There was people on the train with backpacks, and they tell the guy that runs up and down, takes tickets. What do you call him?
Conductor?
No.
Engineer? I don't know.
I don't know. God, I hope someone watching this thing can think of these terms that we and you can't think of right now. Anyway, the ticket taker
that works.
Would call up to the engineer, and he'd stop the train at a certain spot. He'd get off, take off into the wilderness, and there'd be a guy down the road, down the tracks with his gear and maybe a skin or something that would stop the train, and he'd stop, and we'd pick up a guy. He'd come in with his gear.
Like hailing a cab, only it's a train.
That's right. And we'll talk about wilderness. It was deep in the woods, let me tell you. Whatever you were doing, if you were off into that woods, you were. It wasn't like a KOA. It got to a certain spot, about 100 miles north. And it went on up another, remember, 75 to a community up there. They let you up there, and you hung around and diddled around, and they had picnic stuff for you, so on. So you could just kind of get the feel of the wilderness. And then there was a train coming back in about an hour and a half, picked you up, and we went back, did the same thing, picked up people on the way back, and I guess maybe let off people that were from the upper town. I doubt that, though. I think they're all going back. It was a nice trip. It was well worth it. It really was. We had a good time. That was one of the times that I really relished with my dad. My dad took me to Washington, D.C. as a senior trip, because the school didn't take a senior trip.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe they did before, maybe they did after, but not 1960. So me and Dad went there. I had saved up money, and I paid for most of it, because I wanted to have a trip with my dad. We had a good time looking through the museums and everything, and I wanted to go to West Point. That was my goal. But we didn't have the political knowledge and push to get somebody at state level to recommend me and so on.
Mm.
And I may have not had the school grades. I think I did. I was in the top 10% of my class on grades, so I probably would have. So I hummed and hawed and whined around and got him to. We took a bus up to New York City, Grand Central Station, then on up to West Point from there. And I walked. When they let me out at the gate, so to speak, me and Dad. We walked probably a mile and a half inside into the interior. It was wide open. It was like a campus. It wasn't like secure or anything. It's a college, a university. I looked at the buildings. The plebes, that's the first year guys, were harassed by upperclassmen and they had to memorize certain things that you had to say when asked for. I had memorized them already out of the pure wanting to go. I remember that. Dad was having foot trouble at that time. So that poor man walked with me anyway. I feel sorry about that. Wow. I'm sorry, Dad.
Well, let's see. How about a trip with Mark Allen?
When we went camping with our guys, me and Mark Allen were friends. He was a newsman at Channel 2 for the longest time, and then ended up going to our competitor, Channel 10, for a long time. And we stayed friends. We had boys of a similar age, and we decided to go camping with him in the back end of his semi-country home in the Brazil area. So we went to the very back end of his area in a wooded area, set our camp up, our bed, had a campfire and all that kind of good stuff, went to bed. And a hell of a storm came up. I mean, a storm with a lot of wind, a lot of rain, pouring down in buckets. And we decided to give up the ghost. Water was running under the tent, and we couldn't keep things dry. So we ran to the car. We slept in the car the rest of the night. But at least we were warm and dry. But that was our experience camping. When Mark retired a number of years ago, he just went off the charts. Jesse Walker lives in Brazil and was a friend. He didn't know where he went. I asked Jesse a few years ago when I met him doing something here in town. You ever see Mark? No, I never do. I don't know where he is anymore. He played the banjo, so I think he's playing banjo someplace.
If I remember correctly, it might have been Jesse, but I'm pretty sure it was Mark that I went to my friend's funeral and took Ken with me, and he was talking to someone, because it was in that area, talking to someone that knew the area about seeing Mark or Jesse. I can't remember which one now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they mentioned the banjo and how he just sort of turned into a hermit.
Yeah. I know he had a cabin in the Brown County area because he had me do a painting of it. So he might have went there, you know, a lot.
Well, you know, they went years of quasi-local celebrity.
Couldn't walk anywhere without somebody coming after him.
Yeah. Hey, how's the weather going to be next week?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to eat my damn chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
But old friends, might as well throw Tony Stringfellow in here.
About a generous person. His hobby is dentistry.
Yeah.
You might as well admit it. He's an excellent dentist, an old-time dentist that'll come to your house if you're sick and pull your tooth for you. Nobody else would do that. Really an old-time, old-school dentist. And his real expertise is historic glassware, crockery, and historic paintings done by primitive painters of the time that would make a living from walking the countryside and painting a picture of your house or your family and then getting paid for it and going on, traveling on. And he deals in high-level stuff. We're not talking about nickel and dime anymore, since he has had a lifetime of making his money from dentistry and being frugal. He'll get online now and buy a painting for a couple $1,000 online. But he's talking to people. He's not just going on Amazon. He's talking to people who he knows and who knows him. And then if the painting is damaged, not in shipment especially, but it's been damaged to begin with, he has a lady, I believe in Bloomington, who does restoration for high money because she's top notch. You'll never know where she repaired it when it's through. And he's got all that hanging in his house right now. He's got a 19-room house, and he lives in 2 or 3 of them, him and his wife, and a number of dogs and kitties because they love kitties and dogs. And the rest of the house is filled with crockery, glassware, paintings, and furniture. Some furniture. Top-notch furniture. We're not talking a footstool. We're talking about a cabinet.
An average Joe could probably retire from 1 or 2 of his rooms.
That's his retirement plan. He doesn't have 401ks. He says, when I need to totally retire, I'll just sell some of my stuff.
Well, the last time I went to see him a few years back, he was like, I'm trying to get the hell out of this. I want to retire, but can't.
Yeah. Well, he bought this Briggs Hardware, which was a godsend because we were afraid that someone would buy it and just gut it and make it, I don't know, a massage parlor or something. I don't know.
The building across the street's been turning into a tanning salon, so yeah, I mean, that's not far off.
Yeah.
It's a yoga studio now.
Well, what he's going to do is make it a high-end antique place where he sells crockery, glassware, furniture, and paintings. He says most of my clientele will not be from Sullivan. A lot of my clientele either will be from let me put it backwards again. The Sullivan people probably won't be interested or be able to afford it, one or the other. And I'm not picking on them. It's just that this is very high-end stuff. He said most of my people come out of the Chicago area, the St. Louis area, the Cincinnati, Indianapolis area that have heard of me before and now can come in and look around.
And we're, pretty much in the middle of all those towns, so
that's right.
That's a good placement on it.
And he's going to keep it looking like it did. He's not even going to paint the walls. He's going to leave the old walls like they are. He's going to leave the shelving like they are and work from there. He's going to leave the pot-bellied stove. But now the insurance people say, do not heat the building with that pot-bellied stove. We won't insure you for what you're doing. So he said, well, I'm not going to heat the building with it, but I'm going to get it going. And we're going to have rocking chairs around it and a barrel with checkerboard on top of it and maybe a soda fountain and a souvenir area where we can sell Sullivan and Sullivan County souvenirs and so it's going to be an interesting place for you to come in and hang out if you want to. Yeah. So that'll be fun to do. Yeah. I've even convinced him that me and him and maybe Johanna, his wife, were dressed in somewhat period clothing of the early 1900s, with suspenders and big tall pants and so on, and it kind of be a part of the museum thing. Sit around and play checkers.
And that's my memories of Riggs in the late 1900s.
Yeah.
Of just old fellers sitting in there pissing around on the checkerboard and you need one screw, go grab it. I don't care.
Go grab it. Maybe it's a nickel. I don't care. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean we bought that before, haven't we? 1 or 2 screws or a bolt. That's it. Yeah. They'll wait on you like you were going to buy $25 worth of paint or something, or $50 worth of something. Same deal.
Now, you've known Tony since Boy Scouts, right?
Teenage boys, him and his twin brother. When he loses weight, they look a lot alike. And he's lost some weight, and they look alike a little bit now. They're older, of course, now, and so... But they looked a lot alike when they were younger. Instead of going home from camp and having a date night, or just rest at home, or whatever you'd do as a teenager when you went home from camp for the weekend, they went to a city like Cincinnati usually, and would dig up old toilets. Of course, there wasn't fecal matter in it as such. It long turned to dirt. But they would find crockery, sometimes completely unbroken, mostly broken. And he'd come back that Monday or Sunday afternoon when we were getting our new campers in and say something like, man, oh man, I found a crock over in Cincinnati this weekend that you would not believe. And we're talking to an 17-year-old.
Yeah, let's see. So in your friendship with Tony, I know he paid for all of his staff to go to Hawaii for vacation, and included you in on it just, well, for the hell of it.
And Robin.
Well, she was a friend of...
She's been a friend of Joanna before she was married. They worked together when they were young people. So, yeah. And that's the first time I met Robin. Yeah.
You can't tell. That's what I was leading into.
But at the time, I wasn't thinking too much of marriage. I just thought she was a cool lady and kind of cute. That's about as far as it got at that time. And then I got to thinking, wow, why don't I date that lady? But wasn't that was something to pay the way of all those people. Yeah.
Yeah, because his staff was, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 people, and then their family, and his family,
He set us
and
up
friends of the family.
He set us up in a condominium with all kinds of bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yep. Overlooking the ocean. That came at a price, man.
Yeah.
Now, he had to go to a conference. That's the reason he was supposedly going. And he did go to the conference. But he made it a vacation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to revisit Pearl Harbor, because you said you're there on naval base anyway, earlier in life, but you got to visit there.
Going to the actual Pearl Harbor Memorial, it was, it just always is very, what would you say?
Unsettling.
Very unsettling. Very. You don't laugh and giggle and scream around that place. You just don't do it. You're just taken back. While you see it under there, you see it down there underneath you, and there's people down there. Skeletons now. There's some oil leakage even now of that ship that went down. Lovely memorial. Wow.
But of course, to keep within, the your type of things, it wasn't just hey, let's pop down to the church and get married. No, let's go on a vacation.
Both me and Robin said we both had very churchy, usual weddings with our first spouse. We both loved them. We didn't have a divorce. They both passed. So let's just have fun with this wedding. It was her idea, and then I thought, damn good idea. Yep. Elvis was our kind of best man. There was an official minister. The funny part was usually drunk people come in. They can hardly walk, and they're usually in their 20s or 30s, and they go through the motions and then kind of wobble or stagger out, and that's all there is to it. Both the minister and Elvis said, "God, you guys are cool. You're not drunk for one thing, and you're older, and you speak English normally now." And they just had a hell of a lot of fun with us. They sat around and talked to us after we got married. They just had a ball with us, and we enjoyed them, of course, too. But they enjoyed us. And I got pictures. I got pictures of
Not
them.
quite Bruce Borders, but Elvis impersonator nonetheless, right?
Nothing against Bruce, but he doesn't make a good Elvis. When he dresses up as Elvis on parades, I just say, "Oh, please, Bruce, don't do that again, please."
Well, I don't necessarily make a great Joker, but it's a Joker homage. It's an Elvis homage. Homage. Yeah, homage.
I would say maybe that's what Bruce does.
Well,
Bruce was on TV, Letterman.
Huh.
He was the mayor of a town that did Elvis. That was the thing. It wasn't done too long. He didn't do anything special, but yeah.
One thing that could have went with the topic from yesterday and today, when we went to the Sally show, it was they were trying to figure out something for us to do since they brought us to town and all that. We were broke because we just got back from a Pigeon Forge trip ourselves.
Yeah.
And you got the phone call, in fact, over here, that Sally is trying to put together a after-school program thing and knows that you have been in Boy Scouts for, at that point, 60 years, you know, and wanted to fly you to New York. You convinced them to pay gas for you to bring me and Ken.
As I look back, that sounded fishy, didn't it? But,
oh yeah, it did.
I bought it. I did. I thought, well, okay, that sounds interesting.
I don't know who was all in on it. I think Ken was. Ken knew the background on it.
I'm not sure. I don't know if
and maybe Mom, but I doubt it, because Mom would have probably blabbed it.
Yeah. I don't know who it was, if anybody, but we weren't, by golly.
Yeah.
Man, I read that scout book, and my God, I had all kinds of reasons going in my head. Oh, shit. And in the green room, waiting to get on, the guy that I was supposed to supposedly, debate from the YMCA was an actor. And he was sitting in there talking to me, too, like we were going to debate. Now, you turd.
Locked us in the green rooms with actors that train just to keep the illusion going. But they were trying to figure out some sort of entertainment for us besides sitting at a hotel in New Jersey. So they heard that you taught David Letterman. You're, in fact, the student teacher, but talked to Dave, not us, but their production. And he pulled out a yearbook and remembers you.
Yeah.
But couldn't find you in the yearbook. Well, you're a student teacher.
That's right.
Wouldn't be in there.
That's right.
But they were going to either take us to David Letterman or to Rush Limbaugh at the time. And Jay wasn't filming the day we were there, and something fell through with Rush, so we ended up just sitting in the hotel anyway.
Yeah. That's right.
But it was still interesting that David Letterman remembered.
No, he did.
You. So.
Yeah, he did. But I didn't get to see him. But we had a very interesting experience seeing people in person. And then we went over that yesterday too a little bit, didn't we?
Well, I think that was actually today, but yeah.
Oh, sometime around.
Yeah, it was sometime.
Yeah. And to stand out on the street with the guy that did Mr. Ed, most people could tell you the name right off the bat. A good actor that was from the 50s, maybe. We had a nice chat. I'd say 20 minutes.
Alan Lane.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, Alan
Lane. L-A-N-E.
Is that right? That doesn't sound right.
Well, maybe that was the voice of Ed. Alan Young.
That sounds right. Yeah. Alan Young.
Yeah, Alan Young was Wilbur.
Yeah, he was an actor, of course, and he had other jobs in his life, but that's what I remembered best. And, man, he's just a human being. He talked about not a very good day to be outside, standing out there, and, I don't know, blowed his nose and his handkerchief, just like everybody else did. And,
I remember watching people, it was the first time I was in New York City. I'm not sure about you on that one, but downtown, well, not downtown, it's a huge-ass city, but, just a random-ass side street that was still busy as hell, car to car, bumper to bumper, whatever. People would just walk across. Screw traffic. I'm walking across the road. You better stop for me or I'm going to yell at you.
Yeah.
New York mentality.
It's a different world there, man.
Yeah.
And if you come from the Midwest and you don't know anything about it, it's a freaky time.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You either love it or you hate it when you get there.
I remember going up there and asking so we got picked up in a stretch limo. So of course I went up and I started talking to the driver.
Of course.
Like, oh, how's this to drive? Is it like driving a semi? It's I think it was prior to me even having my driver's license. But
man, to negotiate that long of a vehicle in that traffic, well, that'd be a trip.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even realize that Alan Young was a voice in a Ren and Stimpy episode.
Is that right?
So I've met someone that's been on Ren and Stimpy.
That's right. I'm scooting out of my chair. Just a minute.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of out of topics.
Me too. Maybe this is a wonderful time to say, that's it, folks. After that, my life just went down the tubes. Retired early because of Carolyn's passing, and I wanted to be with her before she passed away. So it was 95, I believe, when I retired. That's been a long time ago to be retired. But I made it. I put her away. Had to sign a paper to take her off life support. That was a heartbreaking day.
Mm-hmm.
But my minister was with me when I did it. I knew what was going to happen when they pulled her out. And I thought, I signed her death warrant. We pushed her to a different room in regional. And they thought she'd go in hours. She went a week. I sat there for a week. I didn't leave the room other than to eat a little bit and go to the bathroom. And I think there was a bathroom in that room. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. And she hung on for about a week. Her twin sister came down and stayed with me toward the end there. I felt like she squeezed my hand the last second she was living, but that might have been my imagination. But she never talked.
So Loretta was there, Mike's mom.
That's right. Loretta sure helped me out after she passed. She sure did. Took care of the household stuff for a while for me. I was just lost. If I'd have been smart, I would have organized and sold off certain things and sold the house and what have you. I didn't do it. I lost everything. I just walked away from the house and I put the keys to the car and the house in the bank and said, here they are. Take them. I don't want them anymore. And walked out. And I lost clothes. I lost uniforms. Stuff in the car. I don't know why. I wish to God somebody had nabbed me and said, let me help you get this organized. They didn't do it. I was on my own. By myself. Boy, that was hard. I made it out though, and then I built myself up, and I'm doing okay. Really had to start over.
Came over here and Grandma was, needing assistance, so sort of helped each other there for a while.
That's right. And she was smart enough to turn the house over to me before she passed, so we didn't have any kind of attorney thing there. It just became my house when she passed away. And there again, she was smarter than I was, man. My dad had made this house so strong and so well insulated, and not to my knowledge, I didn't know he was doing all that. He did. I'm reaping the rewards right here.
I've rewired a few things that just came from age.
Oh yeah.
That he originally installed himself.
Yeah.
Which has always been pretty interesting for me.
Yeah. Well, the old school stuff, fuses and what have you. So we've had to get that converted a little at a time. We still have some.
Depending on religion, if you look at reincarnation, I've been told that I act quite a bit like him. I have the same sort of electronical nap stuff thing.
I think your dad and you both. Stephen John also has that. I'm dad number 2. I don't have that. So it passed on beyond me. It just flipped over. Bang, another guy. Yeah, me and Ken or somewhat alike because of our artistic stuff. Yeah. Sarah, being adopted, she has a whole new line of hobbies and stuff that want to give us. So, interesting family.
Oh.
Yeah. Words of wisdom, boy. Well, I tell you, this is something that I did. The only reason some of this stuff came about is because I kind of dreamed it, and I just went ahead and asked for it, no matter what people thought. I'm sure if I'd have told someone that I was going to try to be a teacher in space here in town, and man, there's going to be somebody from some big family who get that. And why the hell even bother, I'm going to bother. I'm going to give it a shot, So, I'm going to tell a kid or a teenage person or even an adult to say, you dream of something and go for it. I mean, the only worst thing can happen is you don't get it. Beyond that, you might get something.
Mm-hmm. If you can't play, you can't win.
That's right. It's just like the lottery thing. I don't buy it because I just don't bet that well. I mean, I just don't want to hand my money over. But somebody,
I work hard for that.
Somebody, by God, somebody somewhere put a couple of bucks in and they won, multi-million dollars. But the odds are so against you. I'm not sure. I better bring that up in my last statement.
Well, hey, now, statistics show that the older generations seem to always be the one that win.
Yeah.
So
they know something.
You might start wanting to
was
play.
It? There was somebody who figured out something, some formula, by God, that won most of the time. And that whole town started using that formula, and they started winning time and time again. And so they were investigated. They said, "Well, we know your formula," and they had to change things around. By golly, yeah, yep. I don't know what it was, some mathematical thing.
Yeah, so